Great. Welcome everyone to the Town of Greater Napanee regular session of council for the 12th day of May 2026. Just before we get going, I just want to remind everyone that this evening's meeting is being live streamed via our YouTube channel. So welcome to those folks that are at home watching. Welcome to the folks that are here in the body of our council chambers, and welcome to those that will watch it at a later date. Having said all that, we'll start the meeting off as usual with our opening proceedings, which is the playing of our national anthem. I'll ask those in the body of the council chambers to stand and face the flag as we play our national anthem. Thanks everyone. I think we're getting better at it. So having said that, we'll look for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Shank, seconded by Councillor Davey. There's no further comments, questions, or concerns. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll start this evening's meeting off with our public meeting. So we'll look for a motion to convene a public meeting. Moved by Councillor Martin, second by Deputy Mayor Calver. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. Public meeting this evening. The applicant is Billy and Claire Camperlino. Address is 1440 Benz Point Road, Napanee. The purpose is to rezone the prime agricultural PA zoned lands on the subject property to a prime agricultural exception PAXX zone, which would recognize the existing tourist establishment, i.e. yurts, use of the lands and install site-specific performance standards. Now, Mr. Nanton, I believe, are you going to start, or are the proponents going to do a presentation?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm just going to begin by providing a quick intro and overview of the application, and then I'll pass it off to the owners and operators for a presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nanton. And the owners and operators are here. So if you want to come up to the front, and we'll get you settled in before we get going. Welcome. And just before we get going, I'll give you sort of the rules of engagement here. You'll have a microphone that's in front of you, and there's a button where it says push. You just got to push it once, and the light comes on. And when that light is on, it's going to be live, so everyone at home can hear what you have to say, because they're going to want to hear what you have to say. When you're done speaking, just push the button again and the light goes off and they won't be able to hear you. So just before we get started, we'll get your names for the record. I'm assuming that it's going to be Billy and Claire Camperlino?
Yes, Billy and Claire Camperlino.
Great. Welcome to our council chambers. Also, before we get going, we'll have an opportunity, because it's a public meeting, that if anyone wants to speak for or against the application this evening, you'll have that opportunity. Just what I'll get you to do is, once we've heard some of this information, I'll get you to put your hand up, and then we'll get you to come to the front and identify yourself, and you'll have an opportunity to speak for or against the application. So having said all that, Mr. Nanton, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. So an application for a zoning bylaw amendment was submitted for 1440 Benz Point Road. The application seeks to permit temporary zoning for a period of up to 3 years to permit the use of 2 existing yurts on the property for short-term accommodations. Staff have undertaken a review with technical agencies as well. This evening, we will not be providing a recommendation, but a presentation and a staff report will be brought to a subsequent council meeting for consideration. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Billy and Claire as they prepared a presentation to guide you through their application. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Mr. Nanton. And folks, I'm not sure who wants to start, but whoever wants to start, you're more than welcome to go ahead. And I see that I think there's a presentation that's going to come up on the screen, and I think our folks will be able to flip it there for you. So go ahead.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of the council. My name is Claire Camperlino, and I'm here with my husband, Billy Camperlino, regarding our property at 1440 Ben's Point Road. Our small family business, Napanee, has been operating since 2023. Napanee is a fully off-grid, low-impact retreat for guests who want to unplug and enjoy nature. As soon as we learned our land was not zoned for this use, we paused operations and have been working cooperatively with town staff. Tonight, we respectfully request approval of a temporary use bylaw under Section 39 of the Planning Act to permit 2 seasonal owner-operated yurts for a 3-year monitored period. Oh, it vibrated, but it didn't move. Oh, it's coming. It's coming.
Sometimes it
This is our primary residence. The yurts are located roughly 200 meters from the road to the wooded rear of our 14-acre property, well out of public view and separated from neighboring homes. We understand the town is addressing broader concerns around unregulated housing. This is not long-term accommodation or housing. It is short-term rural tourism and our with no events or group accommodation permitted, and we do not intend to expand. This is just a kind of like an overview.
Everybody's content. Thank you, folks. Yep, go ahead, Councillor Shank.
Since we just came back online, was everything in their whole presentation, because there's going to be people watching this that are against it, you know what I mean? That they can see this taped, can they get this, or did they miss the whole presentation?
My best guess, and I'm going to have to refer to Shannon as to whether it was, Mr. Grant, you're going to be able to answer that. Go ahead, Mr. Grant.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, unfortunately, we lost connection to live streaming. So the conversation that would have occurred here this evening will not be accessible. We can certainly make the materials that were provided for the deputation and whatnot available. And we're happy to post something online to that effect.
Well, it's the only reason why is because you know that there's going to be other people that would like to watch this, and it just lost the whole presentation. Anybody that was for it, or they could have swayed that to for it, or people that were against it, or whatever, they just lost the whole your business proposal, what you were trying, what you weren't trying, and all the people that it's because quite a contentious issue on Ben's Point with all the neighbors there, and a lot of people that were watching online, because I was getting text messages also like, what happened? You know what I mean? So I thought it was taped, but.
Yeah, as I was speaking to Madam Clerk, a lot of the conversations are going to be captured in the minutes, I think, Councillor Shank. And I know that it's not necessarily a perfect situation, but I know that a lot of the information is going to be captured in the minutes. So we're not here to make a decision this evening anyways. Tonight was just to hear the information. I can appreciate that we've now become attuned to having the ability to watch it either tonight or tomorrow or the next day. Unfortunately, there's very little we can do about technical glitches, but the vast majority of it will be captured in the minutes, and if need be, then we can always have another public meeting on it. Go ahead, Mr. Nathan.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. With consideration that we lost the live stream tonight, part of my public presentation will try and highlight the meeting minutes, kind of bring those to life for my staff recommendation presentation that's going to be brought forward. And hopefully that helps to bridge the gap between the meeting minutes and what was presented this evening.
So, David, when would that be for the public, for them to peruse it? When would that be available? Like, if anybody that's interested, do they email you? How would they get that rather than, 2 or 3 days prior to May 26th, is it? The next meeting?
I don't suspect you'll bring this back at our next meeting. Am I correct, Mr. Nathan?
Through you, Your Worship, I will look at my calendar and make sure I've got the appropriate dates set. But what I can do is ensure I can prepare a summary email, and if anybody needs the information package, the presentation that was provided, and my summary of what was spoken to tonight that I'll build upon in my staff report, I can prepare that and have that available for the end of the week.
All right, perfect.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be normal we'd bring it back at the next regular session of council anyways, I don't think, is it? I mean, unless it was extremely straightforward and extremely easy. So we can appreciate your time that you're going to spend on it, Dave. And and the other thing that Madam Clerk has reminded me of is the presentation in and of itself is going to be added to the agenda as well. So the vast majority of that information is going to be captured, which isn't captured in the minutes, will be captured, I'm sure, in the presentation, and what's not captured there, I'm sure Mr. Nanton will clean that up. And if there's any further stuff after that, then we most definitely will we'll be able to get that information for those that need that information. So, yeah, go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. So the Camperlino's presentation that they did, the 12 slides, is going to be provided to the public where and how? Sorry, There was a lot of the staff report and which meeting and
Madam
Through your
Clerk,
worship,
go.
immediately after this meeting or possibly when we recess, I can add it on to this tonight's agenda as a
Perfect.
supplemental attachment
Okay.
for this public meeting, republish so that everyone can see it there. And then Mr. Nanton will also include the details in whenever this matter comes back to council.
okay, thank you.
Great, thanks, folks. And I think we've asked if there's any information or anyone to speak for or against from the body of the council chambers, and I don't remember seeing anybody. And if there's anything else from council, we'll cover that now. And if not, we'll look for a motion to adjourn the public meeting. Seeing none, look for a motion to adjourn the public meeting. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed, motion's carried. Thanks, folks, and we'll obviously, Mr. Nanton will get the report finished up as soon as this time is going to allow that. So thanks again, and thanks for coming. Next matter on the agenda, we have scheduled deputations, new items, and we do have a deputation from Heather Giffin and Erin Gregory. I think we may only have one tonight, but come on up, ma'am. You've had the opportunity to watch, but we're going to go through it again anyway. So you're going to see the microphone in front of you. It's got a button right in the middle. When you push that, the green light comes on. The world will be able to hear what you say, which is what we want. When you're done speaking, just push the button. It'll turn it off. Once you're done your presentation, we'll see if council has any questions or comments for you. And I'm sure you're going to bring us good news. So, and you are, ma'am, you are Heather or you, Erin?
I am Heather.
Welcome, Heather. And whenever you're ready, the floor will be yours.
Can I just confirm it's my first council meeting? Can I confirm how I'm to address members of the council? It sounded like I say, Your Worship. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I'd be referred to as your worship, and then the counselor can be referred to as Counselor, Counselor Norrie, Counselor Martin, Deputy Mayor Cobber, which, and we're pretty easy going here. So even if you said, hey, you, I'm sure we're going to respond to you. So.
Perfect. I did not feel comfortable calling Counselor Davey Your Worship, so. I wanted to thank you all for the opportunity to be here and to spend a few minutes speaking on behalf of the Napanee Heritage Race. So as you have hopefully read, this event was created in 2016 by myself, Erin Gregory, Tricia Cammert, and Tammy Pigeon, all community members looking to give back to the town of Napanee. Over the last 10 years, we have volunteered thousands of hours and with the help of so many of our local small businesses have raised and donated over $110,000 directly to support physical and mental health projects in the town of Napanee. The purpose of my presence here tonight is to initiate a final donation to the town of Greater Napanee, totaling just over $35,000. We wish for these funds to be used to support the construction of trail amenities for the in-town trail revitalization project, a project we are very excited about. This represents our final donation as race directors, as the race has now been passed to the Hospital Foundation for this and hopefully future years. As we move away from our role as volunteer race directors and toward other projects, we wanted to take a moment to sincerely thank those who have provided us with support and guidance over the past 10 years. As mentioned, dozens upon dozens of local businesses have supported us year after year, including the business of Councillor Sean Davey, and our sincere gratitude to you, Sean. Without the support of these small businesses, we could not have accomplished what we did. Additionally, we would like to mention Chris Brown, Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture, Rob Plumley, Senior Economic Development Officer for the county, Jeff Cuthell, Director of Capital Works, and Marg Isbester, former Mayor of Greater Napanee. All were so influential to us and endlessly helpful in helping us to meet our goals. Before hearing what our next steps are for getting this money where it needs to be, I'm hopeful I might be able to make a suggestion to council. I suspect in your role that you are frequently approached by individuals or groups of people who are unhappy, and I'm sure that is not a very fun part of your job. With an event like the Napanee Heritage Race, you have a group of women who had a vision and came together on their own time to create a community event where close to 700 people gathered every year to run, walk, wheel, or spectate. If you've never seen it, it is a truly incredible show of community spirit. That said, in the last several years, and with the exception of Sean's sponsorship and support, we have not heard from anyone on this council, even though the event and its support of Greater Napanee has been widely advertised and reported in the local newspaper. I do want to mention that I think this is a missed opportunity. We would encourage you to find these groups, lend them your support if you can, or your thanks if you can't. Even a few words will make a big difference. I thank council again for the chance to speak, and on behalf of Erin, Tricia, and Tammy, as well as myself, I'm very happy to move forward with this donation of $35,532.64. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Heather. Just hang tight. We'll see if we have any questions for you. Council, do you have any questions for Heather with respect to her deputation this evening? Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Heather, I don't have any questions, but please accept a very belated thank you.
Thank you.
When I read the deputation, and your speaking was much more impactful than just reading it on a piece of paper, I was really astounded. Like $110,000 over 10 years. That's a substantial amount of money. And the places that you put it were also different and unexpected. So yeah, like kudos to you and all the other women who you worked with over the years. So thank you. And thank you for this. 35,000 and I already lost. I got the 64 cents and I lost what was in the middle there, but thanks.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Councillor Hicks. Deputy Mayor Calver.
Thank you, through your worship. That's just an amazing gift. As we're starting up a new trail committee, and I happen to sit on that trail committee. This is just a dream, really. We've put money aside to do the in-town loop and trail to start this fall, and this money is going to help out tremendously. You know, putting some lighting and benches, that sort of thing, up when we get the new trail committee up and running. And I don't even know how to begin to thank you for that. It's very nice of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver. Councillor Shank.
Over the years, when you consider volunteer, number one, all the time and effort, considering how many organizations are pleading for money, pleading for this, pleading for that. And when you look at what you've done for the, like Rotary Park, NDSS Track, LNA Outreach, JJ O'Neill, you know, that disc hall would have been really great too, but and accessible canoe and kayak launch. You know, it's, when you think about it, anybody from Napanee, you know, from ratepayers right straight through to everybody, is just a big thank you, because here's somebody that's going beyond their time and away from their families and everything else to go ahead and raise this to support the community. It's just a big kudos to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're happy to do it.
Thank you, Councillor Shank. Is there anything else? Seeing none, I'm going to pile on here, Heather. I don't think words will describe how thankful we are for this. Your group, your organization, over the years has worked extremely hard to give back to a community that's, as far as I'm concerned, is the greatest community in this country. We all know that being a small municipality as we are, that it's difficult to invest everywhere we need to invest. And your timing with your donation to donate to the construction of trails in this municipality is extremely honorable. It's extremely timely, and I too would like to thank you for the work that you have done, and for the work that's going to result from this donation. So, you know, we've listened to our municipality, we've listened to our community that want more green spaces, they want trails, they want to get out and walk. And, you know, I didn't think we'd be in a position to do it, but we are. And now it's going to be even better. So, once again, on behalf of council and on behalf of the municipality, thank you for thank you for the donation. We're going to do a resolution. We'll have staff come back with a staff report, just as far as the legalities go as to how we're going to deal with this. Don't think for a minute that we're going to tell you, nah, we don't want your money, you can take it and, you know, put it somewhere else. Don't for a minute think that, but just for the legalities and the business end of it, I guess is the best way to put it, is we're going to bring staff, get staff to bring back a staff report and make sure this is, gets its due that it should deserve. So once again, thank you. And I apologize. Council, is there anything else anyone would like to add before I look for a motion? Seeing none, having said that, I'd look for a motion that council note and receive the deputation from Heather Giffin regarding the Heritage 5K race, and further that council direct staff to bring back a report regarding the proposed donation. Moved by Councillor Norrie, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks again, Heather. It's good news stories are always welcome. So thanks again.
Thank you, Your Worship. Appreciate your time.
Moving on through our agenda, we have deputations with respect to items on the agenda, and we do have a deputation from Hydrostor. Shahir Aziz and Andrew Tilazewski will be making a presentation to council with respect to the municipal report that's on the agenda. So welcome, gentlemen. I think you may have been here before, but I'll give you the Reader's Digest version again. You'll see the mics in front of you. All you gotta do is push the button once the light comes on, you're live. And you'll have the floor. You'll be able to do your deputation, and then once you're done, just push the button so that it just kills the mic. So welcome, and whenever you're ready. I'm not sure who wants to start, but the floor will be yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillors, Your Worship, thank you once again for having us this evening. As you may recall, my name is Shahir Aziz, and I am the Vice President of Business Development at Hydrostor. I'm today joined by our Executive Team Leader, Pat Moyer, as well as Noah Eckert. Noah's going to quickly introduce himself today.
Thank you, councillors and Your Worship. Appreciate the opportunity to sit here in front of you on behalf of Hydrostor and our team. My name is Noah Eckert, and I am the VP of Project Development. And I've been working closely with our team on a number of projects. The project in question tonight, the Quinty project, but the Willow Rock project in California, which is one of our more advanced and mature projects that recently received a certification from the California Energy Commission. So we went through a very rigorous process in California to work through all the environmental and regulatory requirements in order to get the certification for that project, which is moving rapidly toward construction, which we expect to start later this year. So I look forward to the opportunity to answer questions and for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you.
Great. Excellent. Later tonight, council staff will provide their recommendation regarding the Quinty Energy Storage Center. We appreciate the time and consideration that staff and council have dedicated to reviewing our project to date. As we've discussed during our previous visits and over the past few years, Hydrostor has completed extensive technical work, including detailed studies recommended by the municipality, as well as a borehole program that validated both the geology and overall feasibility of the site. Throughout our presentations and community engagement sessions, we've emphasized that the project remains at an early stage. As it continues to advance, we will continue to refine the design, incorporate feedback, and work collaboratively with stakeholders around the community. This project also plays an important role beyond the local community. The Quinty Energy Storage Center is designed to support the reliability and resilience of Ontario's electricity grid, helping to ensure stable, affordable power as demand grows and the system evolves. At the same time, it represents an opportunity to advance Canadian-developed clean energy storage technology from Hydrostor, contributing to innovative economic development and leadership in a rapidly growing global sector. With your support today, we will be able to advance this project to the next phase, which is submitting a bid into the ISO procurement process. Most importantly, an approval today is not an approval to begin construction. Rather, it is an endorsement to study the project further and to pursue the ISO contract. If successful, the project would then enter into a comprehensive permitting process during which we will continue to work closely with municipal staff, local agencies, and the community to progress it. We look forward to continuing that collaboration and being a positive long-term partner in the greater Napanee community. And thank you again for all your time today and from the evenings before.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. Just hang tight and we'll see if council has any questions for you. Council, do you have any questions or comments with respect to deputation before us? Seeing none, thank you, gentlemen. Hang tight. Obviously, later on the agenda this evening, we'll be having the discussion with respect to the municipal support resolution. So if you're more than welcome to stick around through our council meeting. If not, then I'm sure that we'll be in touch with you in the not too distant future. So,
Your worship, councillors, we will be available. Should there be any questions for us, we will be in the audience ready to answer.
great, thank you, appreciate that. Oh, sorry, we've got a late question. Go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Willow Rock project in California, how big is it?
It's a 500 megawatt project, 8-hour duration, so it's the same size.
Size?
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
you bet.
Thanks, Councillor Hicks. Is there anything else before we look for a motion to note and receive? Seeing none, we'll look for a motion to note and receive the deputation from Hydrostor regarding item 9.1 in this evening's agenda, moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Deputy Mayor Calver. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Correspondence items on the agenda. We do have a piece of correspondence from the Cataraqui Regional Conservation Authority with respect to the Hydrostor municipal support resolution. Is there anyone that would like to comment or make any statements with respect to that document that come in? I think it was this morning or late yesterday afternoon. Late yesterday afternoon. So seeing none, I think I'll address it later. But if there's nothing to speak to it now, we'll look for a motion that council receive and note and receive the correspondence with respect to item 9.1 on the agenda. Moved by Councillor Davey, seconded by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Unfinished business was financial and IT services, creation of a labor's relation and waste disposal reserves. And Ms. Hamill, I think you're going to speak to this one. So whenever you're settled in, the floor will be yours. Oh, go ahead. Mr. Grant's going to get you started. So go ahead, Matthew.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll speak just to the creation of the labor relations reserve and let the general manager speak to both of those in detail. But for council's awareness, I asked staff to take a look at what could be done to create a labor relations reserve for a number of different reasons. That would include recruitment efforts such as advertising and the like. That would also include some of the HR related matters that we bump into from time to time that we currently don't have a dedicated budget for. So the intention is to ensure that we have an appropriate reserve for that purpose. That human resources has appropriate funds for the various purposes that they require it for. And in line with that, it is our intention to bring back a detailed report from human resources that would provide thresholds for what delegated authority that they could draw from those reserves. You know, for example, if we were looking for, let's say, a director of planning, I'll just throw that out there. We might put that on specific websites that have a cost attached to that where planners go for in the regular course of their business. And so it's important for us to be able to go to places where professionals congregate and try to attract them to our municipality. And right now we don't have a budget for that, by way of example. So that is the purpose. And then in the coming weeks, we will bring a full breakdown of how those monies could be spent should council endorse this kind of reserve.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Grant. And we'll turn to Ms. Hamill. Go ahead, Hamill.
Thank you, Mayor. So CAO Matthew has covered much of what I had covered here, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the Labor Relations Reserve, other than just highlighting the funding source of that. So there was two kind of reasons that this came to be came to council at this point in time. One, as Matthew mentioned, there's an anticipated need, and we've been highlighting that for a little bit of time, trying to sort out how we could create this reserve and where the funding sources would come from. And then in 2025, at the end of 2025, we received a WSIB credit of $250,000. So we feel that this is a good use to be able to put those funds into this reserve, as it was a payroll-related funding source that we didn't have budgeted and we didn't have other use for. So we are recommending that it go back into reserves, and more specifically that it be the funding source to create this new labor relations reserve. As Matthew has mentioned, staff will commit to coming back to council with the framework of exactly how those funds could be used, if there's any delegated authority within that, which would be a little bit different than all of our other reserves, because currently all of our other reserves, based on the reserve policy, which is attached in the agenda, requires council approval for all the expenditures that come out of that. So we will come back with a report on what that looks like. Right now, we're just looking to create the reserve and put that funding into it. Again, as I mentioned, that was a 2025 credit. So this is closing off our books for 2025. So there is a little bit of a time sensitive piece so that we can close our 2025 books and get this $250,000 placed where it needs to be. So I will take any questions on that before I move on to the addition of the solid waste reserve, which is another request as well.
Okay, thanks, Ellen. Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, through your worship. First of all, Ellen, I think this is a really good idea. And second of all, I would just like to give a shout out to all of our staff, because without good workplace safety standards, we would not be getting a credit of $150,000 from WSIB. So no claims means money back in our pocket. So thank you to staff, all staff.
Great, thanks, Councillor Hicks. Councillor Shank.
As an employer, everybody got a refund this year from WSIB. Everybody. I just wanted not to throw you under the bus. All I'm saying is, yeah, if we had a perfect staff, I'd be really happy, but there's things that happen, but all I'm saying, everybody got a refund this year. So, and even I did.
I'm not going to comment on that, Councillor Shank. Go ahead, Mr. Grant.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, and further to WSIB grants, should we draw upon those things in future, it would be our intention to identify human resources related surpluses to continue to fund that. And an example I would use is what is referred to as gapping. So when you have an employee and maybe for whatever reason, they have left for other employment or something, or they've retired, and there's a period between when their employment with the town ends and a new employee begins, there will be budgeted salary dollars that are in that gap. And it would be our intention for things like that to move into a reserve so we have access to those funds. And so when we bring the report back, we'll also talk about those various funding mechanisms to ensure that it can continue in perpetuity. So it's not just a one-time investment.
Great, thank you, Mr. Grant. Is there anything else with respect to the WSIB credits before we move on to the reserve for solid waste? Go ahead, Mike.
I just want to make it clip and clear for the people that are watching is that this labor reserve, any money spent out of this reserve has to come back to council. So it's not, you know what I mean? Because as soon as somebody hears, oh, it's a labor reserve, somebody's always going to get a big bonus or something like that. No, it's not for that case. And everything has to come back to council for approval. It's just budgeting wise, I think it's an excellent idea and I'm 100% in favor of it. It's just that when you read it, some people would automatically assume the worst.
Yep, thanks, Mike, and Mr. Grant will comment on that. Go ahead, Mr.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, that is partially accurate, Councillor. And so what I would say is this, and the reason we'd be coming back, and it would be different than some of the other reserves, and I'll have the general manager speak to whatever I may have broken here. But there would be recommended thresholds for human resources to be able to draw upon, a certain amount for recruitment efforts such as advertising and the like, or other items that, and anything above a threshold would have to come to council. I would say that if there was any concern that there would be a sort of blank check, that would not be the case. There would be dedicated thresholds for specific purposes. And then, when it hits a certain threshold that we consider relevant, then that would, what is being proposed for council's consideration is that would come forward. So we don't come to you for a request for $3,000 for advertising or, $500 for something else. What those thresholds are and would be council's decision to make, but that is, just for clarity, that is what our intention is to recommend.
Yeah, right on.
Thank you, Mayor. Just further to add to that, you had just, Councillor Shank mentioned about bonusing of employees. We have union agreements and compensation bylaws that we must adhere to. So there's no ability to do that from any source of funding. So just another layer of that will not happen.
I know that, but the people sometimes that are reading out there and they see it and they jump to conclusions and or whatever. So I just want to make sure it's clip and clear so the facts are there. That's all.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Mike. And it is going to be a discussion at a later date as to what those thresholds are and the delegated authority that goes along with it. And that'll be a council decision as to how we want to deal with that. So, but it's a good conversation. Is there anything else? If not, we'll move on to the next part of this. Go ahead, Al.
Thank you, Mayor. Just very briefly, I believe that when I was speaking, I was using the number 250,000, which is actually the amount for the waste reserve. It's $150,000, as Councillor Hicks had alluded to. So I apologize for the misspeak on the amount there. The labor relations is approximately 150,000 and the solid waste is approximately 250,000. Okay, so for the solid waste reserve, same sort of story. We're looking for council's support to create a new reserve. This one's a little bit different because it was a budgeted reserve transfer as part of the 2026 budget. However, we never formally made that reserve. So just based on the way that the policy reads, we do need council resolution to make that reserve. So we're looking for that approval to add the solid waste reserve to the schedule within the existing policy, which is formed by bylaw. As you will see in the staff report, what we're looking for in that reserve. So some of the expenses or future expenditures that we would come to council with looking for approval to spend funds on would be supporting for future contract escalation. So our current contract is set to expire in 2029. We do suspect there could be some changes to that. So these funds could be used to support increased costs in future contracts. It could be used to support future improvements to residential waste collection programs. Waste disposal site upgrades is another example, and post-closure costs. So we do have a liability on our books that we are not currently funding, that we are going to have to fund at some point. We do still have a lot of life left in that site. I believe it's like over 30 years, and we're not currently funding that liability, but we know it's coming. Our books say it's coming. The auditors at some point are going to say to us, we need to start funding that, and I will start coming to you to say that we need to fund that. So that is one thing that we could potentially use these funds for in the future. So as you can see in the report, those are some of the general expenses that we are suggesting that could be pulled from. But for this particular reserve, we certainly will come back for any use of those funds. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Alan, is there any questions or comments with respect to this part of the discussion? Councillor Shank.
This is for Andrew also. Since amalgamation, the South Fred dump, you can see the expansion, the amount of tonnage that's going in there is unbelievable. The size of how it's increased. I was at the dump, not last Saturday, but the Saturday before. I recognized an individual, they weren't from our municipality. So when everybody comes in, if they're going to be paying by, debit or whatever, that a lot of times they will use somebody else's address here. Oh, I'm just taking so-and-so with me. All right. I've been told that it is being abused. Now the staff there are doing a fantastic job. Don't get me wrong. It's very hard. But for checks and balances, is there any possible way that, you know, if they're coming in, you know, you're driving in, show your driver's license, shows your address in Napanee. I'm just trying to mitigate if there's any question, you know, the regulars, they'll know, but anybody in doubt that they should show their address, you know what I mean, their driver's license or something else. So we're taking residents, the garbage from residents from Greater Napanee, not from Loyalist or Stone Mills or somewhere else, because we need to extend that. And it's not very easy to get a landfill site operating, especially when you consider how much is going in there. So it's just a food for thought. If you could think about it, ponder it. Does it work? Does it not work? What can we do? The staff is doing a great job. Don't get me wrong. They're checking, they're doing a great job. It's just that some people, there's always a few that want to abuse it. You know what I mean? So there we go.
Thanks, Mike. I think what we would do is we put that comment underneath our inquiries as opposed to we're not going to make you say it again, but it really didn't have anything to do with the reservists, but I do appreciate it, and it's something that we can task. We're not going to say it again though, Andrew, so I hope we took notes. So anyways, thanks, Mike. Is there anything else? If not, we do have a recommendation that council receive for information the financial and IT services creation of labor relations reserve and waste disposal reserve report. Further, that council directs staff to bring back an amendment to the bylaw 2025-0033 by updating Appendix A with the addition of a labor and relations reserves and a solid waste reserve, and further labor relations reserve in accordance with the overarching reserves policy require that council approve prior to use until such time council approves a recommended framework around the permitted uses and any recommended delegation authority for use on labor relations funds, and further that council direct $150,818.82 received in the form of WSIB credits to be directed to the labor relations reserve, and further that council direct $254,155 that was budgeted in the 2025 to be transferred to reserves be directed to the solid waste reserve. Moved by Councillor Shank, seconded by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Next matter, I think you're going to deal with it as well. Ellen, Financial and IT Services Report, Municipal Accommodation Tax Draft Policy and Tourism Entity. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so this report has been some time in the making, and tonight we're looking for council's support to consider staff's recommendation regarding the eligible tourism entity, which is required to share 50% of the MAP proceeds. And we're also proposing a first draft of the proposed MAP policy, which provides the framework around how our, like the town's portion of the MAP funds would be utilized. So just by way of background, in the fall of last year, council formally passed the bylaw to implement municipal accommodation tax with a resolution to report back on the options for an eligible tourism entity as required under MAT legislation, which is the 50% share of the funds that are collected. So earlier this year, staff issued an RFP requesting submissions from eligible tourism entities under that legislation, which require them to be a nonprofit entity whose mandate includes the promotion of tourism in Ontario or in a municipality. So through that RFP, we did only receive one submission from the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board, and their business plan is attached to the report, so council can get a good insight into the type of work that they will be conducting. They're also the tourism entity for neighboring communities in Belleville, Quinte West, and Brighton, who have also passed their MAP bylaws. So staff are recommending that council appoints the Bay of Quinte as our eligible tourism entity under the MAP program. And if approved, we would bring back to council an agreement with the Bay of Quinte and the town for council's consideration and ultimate approval. This will outline how the funds are managed, the financial accountability requirements, reporting requirements, insurance, and a termination clause. 180 days is what would be consistent with the other agreements with the neighboring communities, but council can opt for a different term if that's something that they would like to do so. Just some of the language I'll just highlight so you get an idea of the type of agreement that we're looking at. So this language is coming from Belleville's agreement. So within that, it says promoting tourism in the city means developing, advertising, funding, sponsoring, or otherwise supporting or promoting any tourism projects, events, assets, or products within the boundaries of the corporation of the city of Belleville, insofar in doing so directly or indirectly promotes or is beneficial to the growth of the city's tourism sector. local innkeepers, by increasing overnight stays, restaurants, developments, sorry, I'm paraphrasing a little bit now, commercially or publicly operated tourism attractions, festivals, and social activities. So examples are entertainment, sports and recreation, and other commercial interests. So it's very broadly covering tourism-related promotions within our community. Does council have any questions on that piece of the report? I'm going to break this into two because we'll do the policy for our MAP funds after this conversation is done. So this is specific to the appointment of PECUNIARY as our eligible tourism entity.
Great, thanks, Ellen. Is there any questions or comments with Councillor Hicks?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Ellen, so I just want to highlight for those that are watching that 10% is given, 10% of the total, and it's usually remitted quarterly. So 10% of what is collected right off the top belongs to the town to cover any administrative costs. And then it's split 50-50. And then we retain the 50% and can use it for, I'm just going to throw out there, improving the docks at the river, or things of that nature, improving the waterfront to increase tourism, that sort of thing. But the 10% right off the top is the town's to cover any administrative costs in dealing with the collection and disbursement, if you will, of the MAT tax. So, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say almost 4 years ago, a number was provided, and that was before we had the new Hilton built, based on hotel, motel only, of $80,000 coming back to the town, which is a significant amount of money for us to have to put into this type of work. So, thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Great, thanks, Councillor Hicks. Deputy Mayor Gower.
Thank you, through your worship. So right now, we currently have an agreement with PECUNIARY. We pay them $25,000 a year. Okay. When this is up and running, will we still be paying them? Well, I know we're on a 3-year term. When that 3-year term is up, are we going to have to still pay them $25,000 plus 50% of the MAT tax fee?
Through your worship, that would be a council decision. So that agreement likely will come back to councils for consideration on whether or not they want to enter into a new term of that. It's on a per capita basis. So right now, I believe it's $1.55. So whether that number changes or stays the same, which is around $25,000 per year currently. But yes, if council was to continue with that agreement, that is completely separate from the MAT and the MAT fund. So there would be two different pots of money that they are currently or will be receiving if they are appointed our tourism entity as we continue on our 3-year term. And then on a go forward basis, that would be, again, a decision of council, but there is a potential that they could receive both pockets of money. And there is some different uses of those funds. I did ask that question to PECUNIARY and some of the description provided. And I believe PECUNIARY's at council next council meeting to present what they have accomplished with our funds under that program. So you might get some more insight at next meeting. But basically there's a dual mandate. So there's tourism funds versus resident attraction / workforce attraction funds. So as per the Municipal Act, MAT funds are exclusively for the purpose of promoting tourism, but within PECUNIARY Bay of Quinte Marketing Board have a dual mandate of tourism and resident attraction. So the whole live here and work here piece of it is covered through that annual contribution of the $25,000. Workingquinte.ca, some of the local job promotions, that type of stuff is covered under those funds. And the MAT funds are specific only to tourism.
Okay, thank you. So when that 3 years is up, we could go to a different provider and still do the MAT tax with PECUNIARY.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Deputy Mayor Gower. Is there anything else? If not, we'll move on to the next part right now.
Thank you. Okay, so the second piece of this is the draft MAP policy. So we need to develop a policy on how we intend to utilize our 50% of the funds that we do retain. Outside of the 10% that Councillor Hicks has mentioned, that will be retained to offset the cost of operating the program. These are the funds that are used to support tourism, how we see fit within our municipality. So the policy states that the use of funds first must be determined through the annual budget process. So it's an approval through the budget process that says we're going to fund this project with MAP funds, or it's approved by council with a specific council resolution. So there's only two ways that they can be approved, through the budget or through a council resolution. What we've suggested as some of the eligible uses include investment into tourism-related infrastructure. So some examples of that could be wayfinding signage, streetscaping, public amenities such as parks, boat launches and trails, waterfront and downtown beautification, capital improvements and investments where such expenditures can be demonstrated to support tourism promotion or visitor attraction. Could be used to support programs that increase visitor spending and strengthen the local economy, projects that expand the community's capacity for tourism offerings such as sports, art, music, heritage, and culture experience, or support of grants made under the proposed community improvement plan if implemented. So Michael's team is working on the community improvement plan, which will come back for council's consideration at a later time. If that program is implemented, we are suggesting that MAP funds could be used to support that program. So that would be things like facade improvements, some things in our downtown where businesses can look for funding from the municipality for a community improvement plan. So that was one of the other eligible expenses that staff has proposed for council's consideration as part of this policy. Ineligible costs we are suggesting would include staff wages, operating costs for road maintenance and repair, or operating costs of existing facilities. So that's just generally saying that the funds intended to broadly support tourism-related expenses and not offset existing operating costs for hard services such as roads and buildings. So really at this time, we're just looking for council's feedback. If you like kind of the approach that we've highlighted for council, if there's anything on the eligible uses or ineligible uses that you disagree with and would like to see changed, we're looking for that feedback. And then we'll bring back this for council's consideration again at a later council meeting. I'm happy to take any questions you may have on that.
Great, thanks, Alan. Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you, Mayor. Eligible and ineligible things for it to be spent on, and you mentioned wages were ineligible. Supposing we had hired a couple of students for a tourist information booth, would that be become eligible even though it's wages?
Thank you for that comment. That the way that it's read right now, that would be ineligible, but that's a really good thing to think about. So we can look to put some verbiage around if it's wages unique to the project or something. We can come up with some sort of wording if that's the intent of council to be able to support a specific project like that, not just offsetting operating wages that are already budgeted or should already be budgeted outside of tourism.
I knew you'd solve that for me, Ellen. Thank
I
you.
haven't yet, but I will.
Thanks, Bill. Go ahead, Mike.
I hate to be the bean counter here, but do we get the HST on the 5%? Because
yes,
yeah, so we get the HST also.
I believe so, but let me confirm that and I'll get back to you.
All right. The only reason why is because it doesn't matter if you stayed. I stayed in Ottawa before, and recently, and every night that was there, they charged the MAT tax, which was 6%, not 5%, and then they charged me HST the 5%. You know what I mean? On the 5% also. So not that I'm look after the pennies, the dimes will look after their own. So I just wanted to see if we could, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of definitely. And is that money that we're going to be collecting, is that quarterly or is that monthly?
We are requesting quarterly remittances.
All right. Okay. And then that will go into a reserve account specifically for that. So it's not going into the general fund. So we know exactly how much money that we are collecting in that, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Mike. Go ahead, Ange.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ellen, you said something and it caught my ear, so I'm probably going to just double check with Michael on this because it's regarding the CIP. And one of the reasons we're revisiting the CIP was it was going to be more broadly used across the entire municipality, not specific to, and I'll use the term BIA, meaning the downtown core area. So for instance, if there was a business in the north part of the municipality or the south part or anywhere really outside of the that's not to say that the downtown businesses can't also use that, but that grant money would be available to any business related to tourism. Did I get that straight in my own mind? They're having a sidebar.
Yeah, through your worship, just conferring with Mr. Nanton, but yes, that's the intent of the CIP is to enable it for access to a wide range of businesses or other as their requests might align with the CIP and enabling policy framework and grant framework.
So in doing the CIP, would you have to be specific with saying a business directly related to tourism or a tourism-based business would be eligible for X amount as a grant through the CIP, which would then be funded by the MAT? That's how my mind is thinking this would work.
Yeah, through your worship. So that would still need to be developed by council to determine what criteria council would want to see within that. But yes, our intent first with the CIP is to create the overall framework and then have potential offshoot branches thereof specific to tourism, specific to accessibility or other.
It was something I thought of and I thought I would mention it because rather than getting, 3/4 of the way through something and going, but now that we have this. So, okay, thank you.
Great, thank Councillor Hicks. Is there anything else with respect to this presentation? Go ahead, Angela.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Calver raised a point about the per capita that we pay currently to the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board. And that 25,000 and change that they've received, they've done quite a bit with. My personal feeling on this is it's a baseline amount because as we saw with the dreaded COVID, the hospitality industry fluctuated quite a bit. So you're not necessarily always going to have 80,000 plus coming in every year. It could drop. So that means that their budget is also affected. My personal perspective on this is that they would continue, while they are the tourism entity, they would continue to get the per capita as well, because the resident attraction portion of that, as well as the work, is very important. They do really good stuff with Work in Quinte, the career fairs. I've referred a lot of people to that because they've said Indeed, when you're looking for work, Indeed is a nightmare, but Work in Quinte, it's monitored and it's clean, and part of our per capita that we pay is used to fund that. The MAT would not fund that. So that's just something to keep in the back of your mind. Thank you.
Very good, Mr. Grant.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, further to Councillor Hicks' comments. So a way to look at the pots of money is the base funding that we provide. There's some degree of flexibility in that. It's running workshops for local businesses. It's a photo database that we get access to. It's website work. It's a number of those kinds of things, and they can move things around based on need. The MAT tax, as I understand it, does not offer that flexibility. It is straight up tourism promotion, and so there wouldn't be that flexibility. And at the time that the base funding agreement comes due, I would suggest that council can have that discussion about if and how they would like that to continue. But just wanted to clarify those are the specific differences between the two.
May I?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Mr. Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, but the current per capita contract runs till 2028?
I believe so. End of 2027. It was a
End of
3-year.
2027.
Yes.
It was to run into the next term of council, just, they have the option to change things when the time comes, but it's something that they're not going to have thrown right at their head as soon as they sit down around the horseshoe, which was the reason I believe for doing that. So, okay, thank you.
Thanks. Is there anything else? Seeing none, and I know we kind of got, it's kind of like we've hired the same company to plow the roads and plow the sidewalks. We were talking about the company that plows the road, not the company that plows the sidewalks, but we sort of got off track there. So in any event, it was good conversation. We do have a recommendation that council receive for information, financial and IT services report, municipal accommodation tax draft bylaw, and tourism entity report for the council award RFP 26-01, tourism entity municipal accommodation tax to Bay of Quinte Marketing, Regional Marketing Board, and for the council direct staff to bring back a service agreement between the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board and the Corporation of the Town of Greater Napanee for approval, and for that council receive for information or receive the draft use of municipal accommodation tax reserve funds policy, and for the council direct staff to bring back the use of municipal accommodation reserve funds policy at the next available meeting for approval. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, second by Councillor Davey. If there's no further comments, questions, concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Parks, Recreation, and Culture draft municipal alcohol policy. Mr. Brown, whenever you're ready, the floor will be yours.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. The draft municipal alcohol policy provides a modernized, comprehensive framework governing the sale, service, and consumption of alcohol at town-owned and managed facilities and events. The policy replaces the town's former municipal alcohol policy adopted in 1999 and aligns the town of Greater Napanee with its current actions and council's direction, current legislative requirements, AGCO standards, and best practices used across different Ontario municipalities. The primary objectives of the policy are to enhance public safety, reduce municipal liability, and promote responsible alcohol consumption, while continuing to support community, cultural, recreational, and fundraising events held at municipal locations. The policy applies broadly to all municipal facilities and properties, including town-run events, third-party and private rentals. It outlines the responsibilities of council, staff, event organizers, permit holders, volunteers, and security personnel involved in licensed events. The draft policy formally recognizes 3 alcohol service models permitted on municipal property. One is town-operated bar service under the town's permanent liquor license. The second being renter-operated bar service under a special occasion permit issued by the AGCO. And the third being a third-party licensed caterers operating under a caterer's endorsement. Consistent with harm reduction and risk management approach, the draft policy does not permit bring your own alcohol or tailgate events at municipal locations due to the challenges related to control, monitoring, and enforcement. We will talk about that a little bit later, I think, in the next report. The policy establishes standardized operational requirements for licensed events, including permissible hours of alcohol service, minimum staffing and smart serve training requirements based on event size, mandatory insurance and host liquor liability coverage, capacity controls, licensed area containment and signage requirements, drink size standards and restrictions on service practices that encourage overconsumption, safe transportation planning and emergency response expectations. Clear direction is also provided regarding where alcohol is permitted and where it is prohibited on municipal property. While certain indoor facilities are identified as appropriate for licensed events, many outdoor and high-risk areas such as sports fields, playgrounds, splash pads, parking lots, and open park spaces are expressly prohibited unless council approval is granted in consultation with the AGCO. The policy includes defined enforcement mechanisms and penalties to address non-compliance, including the authority to suspend or terminate events, impose future rental restrictions, or involve police or the AGCO inspectors where required. The municipal alcohol policy will provide council staff and the community with a clear and consistent and defendable framework that balances community use of municipal spaces with public safety, legal compliance, and responsible alcohol management. What the municipal alcohol policy is just a draft at this point. So this is sort of our first kick at the can. We're looking for feedback from council. Are we on the right track? What do you like? What do you not like? And kind of steer us in that direction that we want to end up in. There's been quite a bit of work that has gone into the first draft. We feel that we've combined the policy from 1999 with our current operations, and we have a bit of a hybrid approach, which was direction given from council when we last addressed this. So I'm happy to open the floor up to any questions, knowing that there is another report specifically on the bring your own tailgate events coming next. So I'll leave sort of that topic for the next report.
Great, thanks, Mr. Brown. Is there any questions or comments with respect to Chris's report that's in front of us or his presentation? I mean, this is going to come back in a draft, final draft at a later date. But if there's something within the report or in that we're seeing or reading here now that is really starting to bother us, we want to try and get it straightened out, now would be a good opportunity. So go ahead, Bob.
I'm not bothered, but you're basically following what the AGCO suggests and the Liquor License Act. Basically, in this, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're following pretty well what the government wants done in Ontario, correct?
Yeah, through your worship. So the AGCO and the Liquor License Act really steer this policy. We've also done a lot of research on what other municipalities around us and in Ontario are doing already. So we're really following the lead on that. Like I had said earlier, our municipal alcohol policy was very outdated. In fact, it didn't even reference the Best and Bash Arena because it hadn't been built yet. So we wanted to bring our current operations up to a current standard. We fully support the events, especially the fundraising events and things of the like. We just want to make sure that public safety and municipal liability, everything is protected, and we do things the right way so that everyone has a good time, but at the same time, everyone goes home safely. So we try to make sure that people have a flexibility. You can run your own bar with a special occasions permit. You can have town staff run the bar. So we've offered that flexibility, which is a little bit new, and that was based on council's direction from earlier in the year.
Thank you. It's just like I said, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're just following the guidelines. So it's a good job. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Is there anything else with respect to, go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, through your worship. So yeah, the Best and Bash wasn't built in 99, but we did have an arena with a bar prior to that. So pretty sure the policy would probably be okay. Just a couple of things about this draft. It says the Director of Parks and Recreation and Culture administers and enforces the policy, determines the event risk and level required to control, including staffing, security, and police. We're talking about not doing the tailgating, but how are we going to mitigate or control the drinking in the stands at the various events is at the arena versus the bar that's never open? Just want to know how we're going to control that. Thank you.
So through your worship, so that has been obviously brought to our attention, and right now we have 3 staff members usually in the arena at the best of times. That's usually during a Raiders junior game. Normally there's 2 staff. So those staff, if they see it and need to identify that and they need to enforce that, if the behavior continues, they need to call the OPP. That's really our only avenue at this point to control non-permitted alcohol use in any recreational facility or property.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Is there anything else? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation that the council receive for information, Parks, Recreation, Culture, draft municipal alcohol policy report, and further that council direct staff to conduct a review of legal, insurance, and legislative implications, and further that council direct staff to bring back a final draft for consideration and approval. Moved by Councillor Davey, second by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion, Opposed, motion is carried. Next matter is executive services regulation changes to the tailgate event permits. And Madam Clerk, I think you're going to speak to that. So whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Worship. So back in March, Council requested a report about this new bring your own alcohol framework that the province has introduced. At a high level, what it does is it allows a municipality to decide, first of all, if this is something they want to support and endorse in their community, then they would need to put in place a bylaw and rules that would allow it. And then event organizers would have the option to opt in and seek this permit type from the AGCO. So it's a double opt-in system. First, the municipality has to agree that they're even interested in hosting this at all. And then the event organizer also has to decide that this is something that they want for their event. This legislation by no means means that people can just bring beer to outdoor public events. So staff have identified several operational concerns and considerations that were flagged by our insurance company. Whether the town is simply enabling this for another organizer or acts as the event organizer ourselves, the event organizer is still responsible for ensuring the safety and legality of all activities undertaken at an event. So even though they're not serving the alcohol, they are still responsible for making sure nobody drives drunk, which does place a staffing burden that may not have previously been there for these types of events if they didn't have alcohol there before. This is a new and complex area of legislation. So our recommendation is that if this is something that you are tentatively interested in, we can begin some work towards bringing forward a proposed framework early in the new year. But just with the timing involved, we don't believe it's feasible to have this framework in place for this year's event season. And also, sorry, as another alternate, because this came up in the context of Music by the River, if council thinks there might be any interest in having this type of permit for that event in 2027, we'd seek that direction now so that we can begin the budget implications and more detailed planning that would need to go along with that to also present in 2027. Happy to take any questions. And Mr. Brown is here to speak to the staff operating impact side of this whole thing.
Great. Did you want to speak to that first, Chris? You want to see if we have any questions for Jess? Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Bob.
I heard you say about insurance companies, and that makes my skin crawl. It's everybody sometimes. Concerned about people with this town as retirees going to a festival like that, having a couple, which they do, as most retirees travel around the world, and you can almost do it anywhere else. But anyways, their concern was driving, as it stands now, impaired by drug is higher than alcohol. What are the insurance companies saying about us not doing anything about people smoking up in parks? It's legal to have stuff, but it's not legal to smoke it. And more impaireds are being done by drugs. What does the insurance company say about that? Or are they burying their heads in the sand?
So through your worship, where the difference really comes in is if we host the event, we invite people, we encourage the bringing of the alcohol and the consumption on our own property, then we are responsible for whatever behavior comes after that legally and under case law. Whereas if someone is doing this of their own initiative, not legally, nobody's invited them there to do this. I do believe that our smoking bylaw does actually prohibit the use of cannabis in all of our public parks as well, just to put that out there.
Thank you. And as far as the alcohol, we're to next year, right? So I won't bother commenting anymore.
Thanks, Bob. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, through your worship. Going along with what Councillor Norrie is saying, it kind of makes me sick when you watch a guy walk down the street smoking a bong or a joint, but don't crack a cold beer and have one. Anyways, I know there's lots of work to do on this and it comes up next year, so thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Is there anything else? Go ahead, Ange, and then I'll go to Mike. Okay, then we'll go to Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh. So you're asking the council directs staff to conduct a review. Now, is that what council wants to do, is to conduct a review for the first quarter of 2027? But we're not in lame duck yet, but you can defer it, but I'm not in favor of it. You can't control you can't control the drugs that are in your parks right now. We already have a bylaw that says you're not supposed to cannabis. Then you've got homeless going ahead, and you have this and something else, and now you're going to open it up. Our insurance company, it's just a matter of time before something bad happens. All right, and you're going to open this up. Well, you can't complain if you left the gate open. The cattle are already out, because I got news for you. Something like this, you're going to leave yourself wide open. That's just my opinion.
Yep, thanks, Mike. Is there any other comments? And staff is, I see Ange is going to make one, so go ahead, Ange.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wholeheartedly agree with Councillor Schenk. I think there are far bigger issues that require our time and resources than whether or not you can bring beer to a tailgate event or a town event. I mean, it's like saying, let's have Canada Day celebrations and everybody bring their, like, I just don't see a need for it. That's just my honest opinion. I think our efforts are better directed elsewhere. Thank you.
Thanks, thanks, Councillor Hicks. Go ahead, Mike.
Times have changed. As everybody well knows, years ago, if your child did something wrong and somebody spanked the child, you know what I mean, they knew something else. But now it's not my fault, it's not this fault, not anybody's fault. So the municipality, our job is number one is to protect the municipality. Now, are we leaving ourselves open? That's the only way I look at it, because now there's so limited what you can do. You know what I mean? My son came out of you had to do some business downtown. When one of the stores came out, and here's a homeless guy urinating on the sidewalk, and OPP drives by, looks at it, and continues on. But we're going to go ahead and have a tailgate party. You know what I mean? That's the reason why.
Thanks, Mike. Is there anything else? And then what we'll do is we'll look for, yeah, go ahead, Bob.
You make a lot of sense, Mike, but I would like to see staff do, and again, I know it's not till next year, so I won't be part of it, but just see staff come back with something, just so the council next year can say to tighten you up more, if you have time to do it. Because we have a lot of, and I've talked to a lot of taxpayers, and most are seniors, would enjoy to have a cold one in the park while listening to music. I know they're afraid of everything going wrong, worst case scenario, but I won't get back into the government control thing. That's all I'm going to say. So I'm in favor of the study anyways.
Thanks, Bob. Is there anything else? And then I'll just weigh in briefly. If there's nothing, I'm going to tend to agree with Councillor Norrie in the fact that I guess I come from the world, I don't like leaving things left. And I understand, I realize is that the amount of work that's going to have to go into this is not going to get dealt with before this term of council, but we also have a little bit of time left here that if we're going to leave something for a future council, at least the bulk of the work will be done, and then that decision can be made by the next council in the next term of council. So they'll have all the information, they'll have the benefits of the work that's been done by staff at this point, and then that decision can be made by the incoming council. So I guess where I'd support is I wouldn't mind seeing some of this. I mean, and we do have some other stuff that hasn't been, that a lot of work has been done on that we haven't got to, that's going to be dealt with by the next term of council as well, like the short-term accommodation stuff. So, but I also don't like to leave something just to punt the thing over just because we're not going to have time to do it. So if staff has the ability to start to look at this, and I don't want to use staff time up any more than we do because it's going to be a busy 3 or 4 months, but I'd like to see some work get done on it if we can, and then leave the decision with the bulk of the work being done at this term of council to the incoming term of council. So that would be my opinion on it, but I'll see see if there's any other further comments. And we do have a staff recommendation, so we'll see where that flies to. So is there anything else before we entertain the staff recommendation? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation that council receive for information executive services regulation changes to tailgate event permits report and further that council direct staff to investigate and draft a bylaw and municipal alcohol policy amendment to create an enabling framework for third-party bring your own event permits to be reported to the next term of council for consideration in Q1 of 2027. We'll see where that staff recommendation goes. Moved by Councillor Martin, second by Councillor Norrie. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns with respect to that motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion that's on the floor? Opposed? Motion's carried. And I'm sorry, but we missed our dedicated break time. So we're going to take a 10-minute break and we'll see you back at about 8:50 tonight. Great. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for your indulgence. Moving on through the agenda. Next up is Executive Services Confirmation of Advisory Committee Work Plans. And Madam Clerk, I think you're going to deal with that one. So whenever you're ready.
Thank you. So through your worship, earlier this year, council sent a request to each of the advisory committees to outline their intended work plans from now until into early 2027, when the next council appoints new members and sets new mandates for those committee terms, just to confirm that there was alignment between council and those committees and to ensure that there are no surprises that pop up during the election period. When reviewing the recommended work plans from each of the committees, staff identified that in some cases there is a bit of variance between what council has set out in the mandate letters and what the committees envision their purpose to be. So for this report, we have stuck with identifying proposed items that are inside or outside of the mandate letter scope. The staff recommendation is to endorse only those items inside the scope of the mandate letters. That is only because council's committees are solely a council discretionary area. It is your purview to set the mandate for those committees. It's not really staff's role to say, yes, this should or should not be within the committee's mandate. So council has the option to say, yes, we support all of these ideas. No, we don't support any of these extra ideas. That is fully at your discretion. We've just tried to lay this report out in a clear to understand way. The one thing I will highlight is there was a fairly large discrepancy between the rec committee mandate letter as most recently presented and what they presented that they would intend to work on for the rest of this term. So that is an area where we would like to request some specific direction from council as to what it is that you intend to see for that committee. Some of that is a last minute adjustment to their scope when it was consolidated down with the aquatics committee. Happy to take any questions on this, and this may be one procedurally where it makes more sense to split it out into several motions. But we are really just looking for clarity to make sure that the advisory committees and council are both on the same path of what their goal is for the rest of this term as we head into the election period.
Thanks, Madam Clerk. So just so I can get it around my head, I think we're pretty good with the Market Square Committee, the Waste Diversion Committee, Arts and Heritage Advisory Committee. The only one we really need some real direction on is the Recreation Committee. Am I correct with the way I'm reading the recommendation?
So the Waste Diversion and Market Square Committee are what they're proposing to do is fully in alignment with what is in the mandate letter set by council. The Arts Committee has added on 3 extra things that is not within the scope of their mandate, and a couple of these specifically we would recommend a council motion to support because, for instance, council endorsed the arts. We have a motion to endorse the Arts Awards program as a biannual program, and they're now proposing to make it annual. So we really should get a motion if council is supportive of that. As well as they have a proposal about participating in as a representative of the town at other third-party community events. That is something that really should have council's endorsement if that is something you would like them to be doing, since it is a little bit, I wouldn't say contrary to, but it's not fully aligned with the way that the bylaw sets out the public communications role of committees. And then the Heritage Committee also has some extra things proposed that are tangentially related to the historical people and places registry that council outlined in the mandate letter, but several steps ahead of where the mandate letter said, first build the registry and then we'll talk about projects. And this is sort of jumping ahead to, hey, here's some projects to highlight some identified historical people. If council wants to endorse more work on that, again, that's fully within your purview to do. But it's slightly to the side of what was in the originally established mandate.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you. We should break this up. This is
Yes.
going to be far more complicated than it originally appears. I guess my opinion is that if we've issued mandate letters, we should stick to the mandate letters, would be my opinion, but especially, I mean, we're not in year 1 of this, we're in year 4. So if mandate letters are there and there's items in the mandate letters that haven't been fulfilled, my guess would be that we stick to the mandate letters. But I think we're going to need to break this apart in order to have some further conversations. So let's try and do the easy things first. The Market Square and the Waste Diversion Advisory Committees. There is a suggestion or a recommendation that council endorse the proposed 2026 work plans from the Market Square and Waste Diversion Committees as presented. Are we good with that? And then maybe we can make, we'll do a motion to get that one off the books before we delve into too much further conversation. Is everybody good with that? That it appears as though the Market Square Committee and the Waste Diversion Committee are committees that are continually working on their work plans, and they're not going to venture away from that. Am I correct with that? And would somebody like to entertain a motion to receive for information the Executive Services Confirmation Committee reports, plans, and further that the council endorse the proposed 2026 work plans from Market Square and Waste Diversion Committees as presented. Moved by Councillor Hicks, second by Councillor Shank. Gives no further comments, questions, concerns. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Moving on, let's deal with the Arts and Heritage. Let's deal with the Arts Committee first, I guess, and then we'll deal with the Heritage Committee. Their mandate letters, and if you can break this apart for us again, Jess, with respect to what's in their mandate letters. They want to get outside their mandate letter a little bit, I guess, is what you're trying to say. So well, let's try and deal with that one first.
Yes, so through your worship, I think council could certainly endorse those items that are within the scope of the mandate letter, which is, and I guess that's not in the report. We didn't bother pulling that out, but that is continuing to work with the Market Square Committee on the intended use for Town Hall and helping showcase local artists through Music by the River and through Culture Days. Those collaborating with other committees, those are certainly all well within the scope of the mandate letter. So if council wanted to endorse the elements of the 2026 work plans from the Arts Committee within the mandate letter, and then specifically decide if you are interested in supporting the Arts Awards banquet becoming an annual event, and whether or not you want the Arts Committee to start working on a proposal for bringing you that broader, sorry, this disappeared on me. There was also some discussion of a longer term vision for that. If you're interested in them doing that research work to present to the next committee, that could be supported on an arts sector development. And then also that question of community engagement and partnerships at third-party events are the 3 questions with the Arts Committee.
Okay. Sorry. I'll give you my opinion is the awards banquet. I think a lot of work went into the awards banquet. It was a very successful. That awards banquet was in the fall, if I'm not mistaken, Bob. So it's going to fall right into that sweet spot where you've got one council leaving and another council coming in. But I think that work could be done for the awards to move forward, because it's going to kind of be in that area where I think we could do that on a yearly basis. At least would be my opinion. As far as the second part of that, I think that's probably something that discussion should turn over to the next term of the next Arts Committee in the new term of council. But I want to hear from everybody else. I'll start with you, Bob, if you want, since that is your committee.
Yes, the the awards would be good yearly, and they're hoping when downstairs is finished, to host it there, not the doghouse. You know, cost cutting plus stay within line with everything else, and it's pretty. It's a nice event, but it's, you know, so that would work for yearly. I think all they want to do is, if the fair, something going on at the fair, and they want some arts to be there, they would sort of arrange it, for lack of a better word, like not get involved in committees at the fair board, just promote arts more by being at some of these other community events. So if we have some artists or book readers or whatever, and there's something going on at the fairgrounds, and someone reaches out to them, they would see if they could send somebody. The rest is just studying and coming up with brainstorming, which now we're into summer, realistically, then you're going to have a new council. It's, you know, to me, that could be held up to the next arts board. But the biggest one is the Arts Awards. It was missing for a lot of years, and it was very, very successful this year. So, and the other part is if they hear from some group, they'll have a council rep, and, you know, maybe they'd show up with some paintings or book readings, like you say, or a singer. You know, it should be as a, like, just a little display table, you know, that, and if it's a budget, then they'd have to obviously follow the rules of that. But that's kind of the Cole's version of what they're thinking. That's all.
Okay, so if we deal with the, and it's depending on what council wants to do. If we deal with the awards first, I think it's, we could, I think, from what I'm hearing, we authorize them to organize the awards for 2026, and we'll do it. We could do it on a yearly basis, but by the time the next year comes around, it'll be a different council or a different committee, anyways. Does the other items that Bob mentioned, without the research, attending the fairs and stuff and promoting, does that fall within the work plan, or is that outside the work plan, Jess?
So through your worship, those are outside the current work plan, and that's why council would need to say, yes, that's something we want you guys working on right now, to wrap up or to be working on during this term of council. Would likely, yeah. It's not there now, but it could be if council wanted it to.
Okay, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, as for the rest of this year, it's not needed. The next board could leave it in their worksheets and do it for next year. I mean, for 2026, we're pretty well done. I mean, outside of what might happen at the Festival of Lights or something, or Guitars and Cars, they may have a little booth, but very simple stuff for this year. We'll keep it simple, and then if they want to get deeper, then I would say start with the next board. So just basically say go ahead with once a year for the Arts Awards, and then
stick to the work plan after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. And
that's perfect. I appreciate that. Thanks for your help with that, Bob. What is everybody else's thought? Does that sound reasonable? Or does anybody have any other thoughts? Seeing none, we can entertain a motion, Madam Clerk, if you wish to receive for information, executive service, confirmation, advisory committee reports, plan, and further with respect to the Arts Committee. Endorse the elements of the 2026 work plans for the Arts Committee, and I'll get you to take it away from there as far as the yearly assignment or the yearly dedication of the Arts Awards to continue.
Yeah, so I think we're looking for council to endorse the elements of the work plan from the Arts Committee that fall within the mandate, and further the council endorse the Arts Committee Awards Banquet as an annual event for 2026 and 2027.
Okay, I think I see a lot of heads nodding. Does someone want to make that by way of motion? Moved by Councillor Norrie, second by Deputy Mayor Calver. Is there any further comments, questions, concerns with respect to that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Moving on to the Heritage Advisory Committee. Obviously, we want them to continue on with the work plans. And what was the stuff outside the work plans with respect to the Heritage Committee? And then I'll look to Councillor Martin for some guidance.
So through your worship, 3 things that are sort of adjacent but not quite within scope of the mandate set by council. One is the committee had intended last year to bring forward a recommendation about the idea of appointing a town crier as a heritage tourism it didn't come in before this deadline was set of no new things. So if council's interested in hearing that report from them, we would need council to support that they'd at least be willing to have that recommendation be brought forward. There's also, there's been some discussion at the Heritage Committee about looking for ways to acknowledge historical people associated with the area. Specific ideas that they're interested in bringing forward to you this term would be some signage in our cemeteries that acknowledges some of the notable individuals who are buried there, and noting that the federal government has taken away the historical plaques for Sir John A. Macdonald, wondering if council is interested in supporting any other kind of public education or awareness of the fact that he did have ties to this area and does have a legacy impact here. Is that something this council term is interested in exploring, or is that something you would prefer to defer to the next term of council?
Thanks, Jess. As I'm listening to this, I think each and every one of these things probably have budget implications.
Through your worship, certainly depending on how it was gone about. The signage piece certainly would have budget implications, and well, it would likely be a recommendation at this point for future budget year.
That's sort of the direction I would be heading in, is that I think each of these things, or many of them, or could have budget implications, and obviously we're well beyond that at this point. I'm thinking, and I'll look to Councillor Martin. I think they're all quality projects to work on, and I kind of wish that they'd gotten into the 2026 work plan prior to May of 2026. But if they've got budget implications, I'm thinking that they may have to be deferred. But I'll refer to Bill. Did you want to comment on it, Bill? Because I know that
yeah, I mean, all three were relatively important to the committee. I mean, I know the town crier thing, we've been discussing that for a couple of years now, actually. So it hasn't just been this year. So that was something, the Sir John A. Macdonald stuff we were mainly looking at getting council's opinion, whether they want to delve into that now or let it go till another time. But the town crier thing, I think, was one of the main, but I'll let Madam Clerk correct me on a couple of these things here, because she put it quite well, what the three things basically that we're, whether we deal with them this year or not, it's not the end of the world if we don't. But I think the town crier is one of the ones that we would like to delve into.
Thanks, Bill. Go ahead, Jess.
And through your worship, as a sort of a compromise option on this as well, it could be that this Heritage Committee makes those recommendations and forwards them into the 2027 budget, since they weren't included in the 2026 budget. But then all the work that's been done by this committee to date would still be able to be used.
I'm liking that suggestion. Like I say, I think there's probably going to be budget implications to each and every one of these things. And unfortunately, like I say, we've already set our budget, and I'd sort of like to kind of continue on with that, because there's always surprises here and there that we have no control over. So go ahead, Bill.
The town crier really isn't going to affect the budget, other than all we want to do is declare him the official town crier, the gentleman that we have in mind. So as far as the budget implications would be concerned, was if we used them for a certain thing. So we don't have to use them this year in a budgetary capacity, really. We're basically want to name the town crier officially, and I don't see that as affecting the budget.
Do we have the, I guess, I'll be quite honest, we haven't dealt with many town criers as far as hiring them goes, but is that something that a contract would be entered into with the town crier? I mean, if simply designating it, it's one thing, but if it's a contracted situation where we're naming a town crier as our town crier, we're entering into some type of a legal obligation, where does that fit, I guess? And I'm probably going to ask you a question that Madam Clerk is going to struggle with, but I know, Jess, you got the ability to answer, so go ahead.
Through your worship, my understanding, and I appreciate that the committee hasn't had a chance to bring this report fully towards council, but my understanding is that there is a nominal retainer fee that is required whether or not any events are attended by the town crier, and that some kind of agreement is required, which is, it's not a large budget implication, but there is a minor one. That would be the only reason it would be recommended to be by staff that it be deferred. Put forward as a 2027 budget item. And happy to be corrected on that, but my understanding was that there is an annual retainer fee associated as well.
Okay, that's, I was kind of surmising that, but, and again, it's once again, it's difficult because we've not seen a resolution that's come from the Heritage Committee or a report that's come from the Heritage Committee as to who this person is. So it's going to be difficult to try and make those decisions. But I guess in my gut, it would be that we forwarded it to the 2027 budget process. I think that the Heritage Committee obviously has done some work on this. And if we see the report come back that they've done enough work on this, that we're comfortable to name that person, but still forward that to the budget process. I think that may get us to where we need to get to, but I'm more than welcome to hear from other members of council. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Madam Clerk can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought there was an honorarium basically per event he did, not something that was going to be paid to him on an annual basis just for being a town crier. But I could be wrong on that. And I'm sure you'll correct me if I am.
Go ahead, Jess.
Through your worship, apologies to have not sorted this all out before this meeting tonight. I think it would be reasonable if council wanted to request that those unbudgeted elements from the work plan outside the mandate letter are referred as recommendations from the committee to the 2027 budget process. And then if I've misspoken and there is no 2026 budget impact of that request, then it could come forward earlier or separate from that.
I think that's a good plan. Council, which gets us to let's put a motion on the floor and see where it goes to. So if you add that into the and further council endorsing elements of the 2026 work plan for the Heritage Advisory Committee, and then add that piece that you put in there, does that make sense, Jess? Okay. And does council understand what the motion would be or what the suggested motion would be that would be going on the floor? If not, we can give Jess a few minutes to type it out or to regurgitate it, because you do have the ability to do that very well, Jessica.
Budgetary impact on 2026?
Yeah, any of the suggestions that are being suggested, because there's probably budgetary implications to be forwarded to the 2027 budget. I think, are we there? Okay. Is everybody aware of what the motion on the floor is? Yes? And does someone want to make that by way of motion? Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, second by Councillor Hicks. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns with respect to the motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion that's on the floor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Which brings us to the Recreation Advisory Committee. Where do we want to start here, Madam Clerk?
So through your worship, the Recreation Advisory Committee is looking to provide recommendations to council about the Recreation Master Plan. That is something where staff believe it might be appropriate for short-term priorities to be identified by the committee and recommended to council. They've also asked to be able to give input in advance on the soccer field project that is in the budget, and the field house project had a deputation come to council earlier this year. At this point, staff are not sure how much that proposal is going to progress and whether there will even be an opportunity for the committee within this term to provide that kind of feedback. They've also, council has previously expressed a desire not to tie the hands of incoming terms where possible by committing to 5, 6, 7-year timeline projects right at the end of the term. But certainly it may be appropriate to request that the Recreation Committee identify shorter term, shorter scope items in that rec master plan that could be focused on. Mr. Grant may also have some more feedback to provide in this as he's a staff liaison to this committee.
Mr. Grant.
So through you, Mr. Mayor. Advisory committees may make recommendations to members of council to amend their mandate letter. I would suggest that this is largely what that is. It's none of these items are on the mandate letter. This does seem to be the direction that the committee wants to go. I would suggest that regardless of where the committee wants to go, I would reiterate the purpose of advisory committees is for council to seek advice for areas that they are interested in going or would like advice for decisions that they intend to make. So I would also view this in the light of if council doesn't intend to make decisions in any of these areas, that's probably not something that you may want to consider for the remainder of council. And for the items such as the soccer field, if council believes there is merit in having additional perspective on that project, I would say a consultation similar to what Mr. Brown is doing with the Market Square Committee and other committees on that leading up to the presentation of the work plan to council on the soccer field would be appropriate if they wanted to do that. But I would point out that none of these items are on the mandate letter. So I guess the question is, do you want to create a new mandate letter at this point in time?
Thank you, Mr. Grant. I'll go to Deputy Mayor Calver and see if you've got any thoughts with respect to that. I'll be quite honest with you, I really don't want to create a new mandate letter in May of an election year, but we'll go ahead, Brian.
I agree. This late into it, we're not going to redo a mandate letter. I wouldn't support that. But we did put the money aside in the budget to redo the soccer field. Is that going to be actually done?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, yes. It's a short answer to that. Mr. Brown can weigh in on where we're at on that project and any expectations that he'd care to set.
Okay, thank you, because I know that's one of the things that come up right in the very first, when I was sitting on the rec committee, is to get that soccer field done because we're missing out. I was just a little concerned that was going to be taken out, but as for the field house, we don't have a field house project or plan to go ahead. So I think I agree with that. Just let's continue with the soccer field and go from there. And I think Mr. Davies probably wants to weigh in.
Yep, go ahead, John.
Through you, Mayor, I guess that's more or less, Brian, exactly what my thoughts were as well. If the timing allows to have a little bit of input through committee with the soccer field, so be it. But I think a lot of that's going to be a pretty straightforward design and work plan. What's going to happen? Like I don't think there's a whole lot of flexibility. Chris, you could probably correct me there, but I really don't see a whole lot of wavering there. You've got a pretty tight budget and work plan for what needs to happen out there, correct?
Yeah, through your worship. So the plan with the soccer field is we want to widen the field. And to do that, we're going to need to remove 3 of the light poles that are in place to make the field a little bit wider. That is to get it closer to a FIFA regulation size field and also be able to accommodate other sports in the future should the demand come our way. After that, we are going to regrade. We're going to install irrigation and then put down brand new natural grass turf sod. And then realistically, that's likely the sod part needs to kind of happen a little bit later. We don't want to lay new sod in the heat of the dead summer, but so realistically, we're looking at a little bit of work to happen over the summer and then finish off in the fall.
Yep. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Sean. Go ahead.
Through Mayor, yeah, and thanks, Chris. And that was one of the main concerns with the committee is just the multiple sporting events, multiple different disciplines that could be played there. And like you say, having the poles moved not only accommodates soccer, but then other types of sports down the road should somebody show an interest in that. And as far as the field house goes, same as Deputy Mayor had said, without that anywhere even near on the books, that's not something that I don't think we need to be wasting our time with at this point in time for this mandate anyhow.
Yep. Thanks. Great, Sean. And I tend to agree. And I guess the only other question is that obviously we don't want to leave a committee looking for work. So I'm assuming that there's still a number of items within the mandate letter that can be worked on from now till the end of the current term.
That's correct. There's a list of the three just down below in the report that are fairly low level stuff that could be chased without a ton of impact. So.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Mr. Grant.
So through you, Mr. Mayor. So there is a number of items outstanding on the mandate letter. And if it was council's will to have additional input to the soccer field, one of the other mandate items is the attraction of new events to Greater Napanee, and where we should be looking for additional events with respect to a revised soccer field that will have a number of components, I think presents a new opportunity for the committee.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Cowell.
Thank you, through your worship. So to Chris, my understanding the field will be up and ready for the 2027 soccer season. Is that correct?
Through your worship, that is the plan, yes.
Excellent. We should reach out to the soccer clubs now and get them up to speed that we're going to have a top-notch, first-class soccer pitch ready for 2027. Thank you.
Yep, great. And it has been a long time coming, so thank you for the work that the Recreation Committee has done on that so far. So, Madam Clerk, having listened to all this, I think we're in a position to advise the Recreation Advisory Committee to that council endorse the elements of the 2026 work plan. Am I correct there? Note, receive, and endorse?
Through your worship, what I heard was that we're looking to make no changes to their mandate letter.
Okay. Well, we'll put that by way of motion, and we'll see where it goes, I guess. So, yeah, go ahead, Sean. You want to make that by way of motion? Moved by Councillor Davey, seconded by Councillor Hicks. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns with respect to the motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion that's on the floor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Madam Clerk. It'll get us into the administrative consent agenda. First on the administrative consent agenda is the council minutes for the regular session of council of April 28, 2026. Is there anything in those minutes that anyone wants to have any questions about or ask or comments about? Seeing none, committee minutes, Municipal Heritage Committee for April 23rd. Is there anything in those minutes anyone had any questions or comments about? Correspondence for information items dated May 12th, 2026. Is there any correspondence for information that anyone would like to discuss there? I think there was one that someone wanted to, am I correct, Madam Clerk? Someone wanted to pull out there. And that would be the one, we'll pull that one out. And I think Councillor Shank wants to pull that out, is the correspondence from the town of Penetanguishene. So we'll deal with that afterwards. So is there any other correspondence that anyone else would like to pull out or have any conversations about? Seeing none, proclamation request. We have fibromyalgia awareness and stroke and aphasia awareness month. Is there anything there that anyone would like to discuss? Seeing none, Parks and Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee resignation report. Anything in that report that anyone had any comments about? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Cower.
Sorry, I might add my hand up too soon. I was looking for the Parks, Recreation, Culture Advisory report for the docks or the buoys. Sorry, I was looking at 8.7. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself.
That's okay. We're going to get there right smartly because we're going into infrastructure services, Napanee River Navigational Buoys and Boat Launch Reserve Fund. Is that the one you wanted to make some comments about?
That's the one I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I see we've got to relabel our buoys, and I'm assuming it's reflective tape we've got to put on. Is that correct?
Through your worship, that's correct. That's the reason for the added expense with those stickers.
Okay, so we currently have $38,000 in the reserve fund for the waterfront. Would that include being able to use that reserve fund for dock repair and maintenance? Would that come out of that?
Not specifically within that reserve fund, no. It was that this is going before my time, so I apologize if this is incorrect, but that reserve was originally created when we took over the buoys from the conservation authorities. So it's very specific to the in-water works.
Okay, thank you. And I just have one more question on the buoys. Do we get them checked out and realigned every year? Like, do they replace them every year with the GPS so they're actually marking the channel?
Through your worship to the deputy mayor, that's correct. They get it inspected every spring when we put in the no wake buoys. And then when they remove them, they check them again, but they're checking their location and occasionally have to move one. We haven't done the survey of the floor of the river to see if that's shifted over time. And that was a thought for that fund if we ever wanted to get there with it.
Yeah, because I think a few years previous, I don't think they were exactly where they should be. I know they went through and realigned them. I just was wondering if something was done on an annually basis. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Deputy McCower. Thank you, Andrew. If there's nothing else on that matter, we've got the Board Advisory Committee's monthly report for May of 2026. Is there anything in those monthly reports? Anyone any questions about? Seeing none, growth and infrastructure, 261 Dayfo Street accessory structure encroachment request. Is there anything in that report that anyone had any comments or questions about? Seeing none, and I think that's all we have for the consent agenda. So we'll look for a motion to council consent to the approval of the following routine items. The minutes, the regular session of council date, April 28, 2026, be adopted as presented. The Municipal Heritage Committee minutes of April 23rd, 2026 be received for information. The correspondence for information items dated May 12, 2026 be received. The council endorsed the proclamation request for Fibromyalgia Awareness Day and Stroke and Aphasia Awareness Month. That council, and sorry, just to back up, with the exception of the correspondence that Councillor Shank's going to speak to from Penetanguishene, that council received for information the Parks, Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee resignation report, and further that council regretfully accept the resignation of Shayla Elliott from the Market Square Advisory Committee and set the committee sized at 6 members for the remainder of the term, and further that council regretfully accept the resignation of Dave Ellis for the Arts Advisory Committee and set the committee size at 6 members for the remainder of the term. That council received for information the Infrastructure Services, Napanee River Navigational Buoys and Boat Launch Reserve Fund sticker purchase report, and further that council approve for an expenditure out of the waterfront reserve fund in the amounts of $3,522.93 to purchase identification stickers for the buoys. Council received for information the boards and advisory committee's monthly report for May 2026. The council received for information of growth and infrastructure 261 Dayfo Street accessory structure encroachment request report, and further that council approves the request for an encroachment agreement from Linda and Edward Wilson of 261 Dayfo Street for the purpose of permitting an existing accessory structure to remain within the town's right of way and authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement for this purpose, subject to the following conditions: that the applicants will be granted an encroachment license to permit the existing drive shed to remain in its existing location until such time as the town improves Dayful Street, or should the drive shed need to be demolished and restructured, that no further encroachment into the municipal right of way is permitted without the written consent of the town, that the applicant shall indemnify the town from any liability arising from the granting of the encroachment, and that the applicant shall ensure that the encroachment is registered against title on the lands municipally known as 261 Dayful Street in the town of Greater Napanee. Moved by Councillor Shank, second by Councillor Davey. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. And Madam Clerk, can we do the item that Councillor Shank pulled? And Mike, if you want to speak to that, the floor is yours.
Everybody got this through the information. There was distinguishing that they're experiencing the same problems that we've had, that we've been asking for quite some time through the provincial penitentiaries and their funding and what it's actually costing Penetanguishing. So the letter, so I support the letter. It's our funding is based on 1987. Yeah, based on 1987 per bed. Now, according to inflation, 1987, what you could purchase something for in 2026 is something totally different. And of course, those costs attributed to this municipality. Now, we've been screaming with that for years, but now Penetanguishing is seeing, so I feel that maybe we should jump on board also. So maybe two heads arguing this topic might be a little bit better than just one.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Shank. And actually, there probably be even more than that, because I think there are a number of municipalities in the province that are hosting provincial jails. And I think the invitation is probably going to go out, or has gone out, to each and every one of them.
Yep.
And I have to assume that each and every one of them would probably accept that. So, so I think what you're suggesting is that you support the correspondence and request to join discussion with other municipalities hosting provincial detention facilities to discuss joint advocacy approaches. Madam Clerk, does that sound about right? And Councillor Shank, does that sound about right?
That's correct, Jessica.
Thanks, Mike. There's no beating around the bush. So you're going to make that by way of motion?
That's correct, Jessica.
Seconded by Councillor Hicks. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns with respect to the motions on the floor? Seeing none, all in favor of the motions on the floor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Items for discussion. It's 9:30. I'm thinking that at this point, we may want to look at doing a motion to go past 10 o'clock. How does that sound? I know that once we're into the new information, so we got an opportunity to see if we can't to clean up this stuff. So moved by Councillor Hicks, second by Councillor Davey. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns with respect to the motion to go past 10 o'clock? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to go past 10 o'clock? Opposed? Motion's carried. Items for discussion, Hydrostor Municipal Support Resolution Request. Mr. Nobes, I think you're going to speak to that first.
Thank you, Worship, and through you to Council. So as you've heard from Hydrostor this evening during their short deputation, they have previously requested that Council pass a resolution of municipal support for their project for a compressed air energy storage facility at 2911 County Road 22 under the IESO's long lead time procurement process that is currently open. So the municipal support resolution would enable the proponents to submit a bid for a contract under that procurement process being led by the IESO. This request follows a number of presentations that Hydrostor has made to Council over the past few years, along with kitchen table conversations with area residents, public open houses, and direct mail invitations to those public open houses to area residents along County Road 22 and County Road 8, Hike Street, and other areas. If this project were to receive an IESO contract, it would be anticipated that the development, planning, and permitting stage would occur for approximately 2 to 3 years and a 4-year construction window, which would bring commercial operation to approximately 2033. The operation can be summarized as follows. Compressed air stored in an underground cavern. That cavern is connected to a surface reservoir via a water shaft and a separate air shaft, one at each end of this cavern. As air is injected into the cavern, it pushes water out of the cavern back up to the reservoir, and when power is needed for generation, the water flows back down the water shaft into the cavern, pushing the air back out to spin a turbine and create electricity. That effectively is how this operation would function. As part of the municipal consideration for the municipal support resolution, a number of technical studies were identified to help demonstrate project feasibility. The feasibility studies were completed on the 170-acre property. Following their completion, an option to purchase adjacent lands abutting to the west for an additional 270 acres was struck between Hydrostor and private property owners. And the intent there is to enable further mitigation from the site's functions from sensitive land uses in the vicinity and provide greater flexibility for siting the project to meet those setback requirements and mitigation measures that would be identified through detailed assessments at later stages of the project. Studies undertaken at this stage at this early stage of the project considered land use planning and compatibility assessments, agricultural impacts, noise evaluation, hydrogeology, and water sourcing to fill the large reservoir, traffic impact assessment, and construction, blasting, and materials management. And again, these were all completed at a feasibility high-level stage, given that the project is not yet in a detailed design phase, but were effectively completed to demonstrate that the project is feasible on the site. Community feedback can be summarized as follows. There are concerns around groundwater protection, noise and blasting, construction traffic, loss of agricultural land, and potential impact to rural character of the area. Engagement is continually ongoing with the acknowledgement that many impacts are not yet able to be fully resolved given the early stages of design and lack of a detailed design and permitting process that can be undertaken until such a contract might be awarded and detailed design efforts can officially proceed. So all of these areas would be subject to much more rigorous review by applicable regulatory agencies in the future if the project were awarded a contract by the IESO. This feedback that we received from residents is specific to an April 21st open house that was led by the town at South Fred Hall. And these responses were provided by residents through engagement survey responses. And council was provided copies of those responses. They were intended to be anonymous to give residents the flexibility to speak their mind on the project and really give their 2 cents on their sentiment towards it. They're not published themselves on the agenda for confidentiality purposes for those who've completed the studies, but a summary has been provided and council has been given the opportunity to review the feedback submitted. If the project were awarded a contract, further studies would include, but are not limited to, detailed hydrogeological investigations to determine potential impacts and mitigation strategies around groundwater resources for area residents. This would include permits to take water from the Ministry of the Environment due to the intent to fill the reservoir with a large volume of water from Lake Ontario. So anytime there's a large draw of water from a natural source, the Ministry of the Environment needs to issue a permit to take water when certain thresholds would be met. This would certainly meet that threshold. This evaluation would also look at piping routing to avoid sensitive features between Lake Ontario and the site itself. Further blasting mitigation strategies and best management practice plans, geotechnical assessments, air quality assessments, noise and vibration assessments, environmental impact assessments with a focus on species at risk, environmental compliance approvals for air emissions, archaeological investigations, further agricultural impact assessments, stormwater management, design, erosion and sedimentation control plan, detailed site plan, including lighting plans and detailed landscape plans. One of the key components of the feedback that we received from residents was around the loss of prime agricultural land, given that the proposal is located on currently designated prime agricultural land in the town's official plan and zoned accordingly. The use itself is permitted as a public use under the definition of the zoning bylaw. However, in an effort to further safeguard the surrounding agricultural lands that would be part of this overall land holding, council could direct that any future planning approvals, again, if awarded a contract by the IESO, that any future planning approvals could incorporate a condition to those approvals that the proponents apply for a holding symbol on the balance of lands that they would not use for the project. So meaning if the project is on a 400-acre parcel and 80 of those acres is used for the actual project, the balance of that land could be subject to a holding symbol to only allow continued agricultural use into the future until such time as the municipality receives a request to do something different with that land, and the town can undertake detailed investigations to determine feasibility of lifting that holding symbol. So that's something that council has some control over, I would say, in further planning approvals. And what this would ultimately do is effectively safeguard about 75 to 80% of the overall land holding for continued agricultural use. In consideration of a municipal support resolution, Hydrostor has proposed a $2,000 per megawatt community benefits fund contribution annually. The project would be a 40-year duration, so it's a long-term contract with the IESO. Staff have worked with Hydrostor to see some additional amendments to that initial proposal, where a CPI adjustment would be made on a portion of that base amount annually compounded to help safeguard that value of the dollar against inflation over time. So effectively, the 500 megawatt project at $2,000 a megawatt would be $1 million annually at project commissioning and would amount to about 1.3 million over the course of the contract, assuming a 3.5% CPI annually. The CPI would be on 20% of that base amount because that's what aligns with the ISO requirements under the bid process. So they can only apply CPI on a certain portion of that. But the Hydrostor is committed to providing some additional funding based on that same kind of threshold. So if the project were to proceed, I just wanted to stress that environmental approvals under the Environmental Assessment Act, Environmental Protection Act would still be applicable. Permits under the Ontario Water Resources Act, potential federal approvals from Departments of Fisheries and Oceans, Transport Canada, and further municipal approvals and other regulatory approval agencies such as conservation authorities are still items that would certainly need to be met and fulfilled in order to allow any actual work and construction to proceed on the site itself. So after staff have reviewed all of the feasibility level assessments and understanding that there are still rigorous municipal controls and additional regulatory agency controls that can be applied if the project were awarded a contract, staff are recommending that council pass a municipal support resolution as requested by Hydrostor. And I'm available for any questions.
Thanks, Mr. Nobe. Who wants to start? Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns for Michael with respect to, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Calmer.
Thank you, through your worship. So Michael, if we give this a support letter tonight, it doesn't mean they're digging a hole tomorrow and starting to go with this thing. There's a long ways of approvals and stuff to get to that point.
Through your worship, that is absolutely correct. So not only with the town, but with a number of different provincial and potentially federal agencies that would need to be fulfilled before a shovel could go in the ground to actually construct the project.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to get that out there for the public that are watching. This is not a go ahead, start digging, start generating power. There's a lot of federal, provincial. There's a lot of other things in play, long after this step. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver. Is there any? Councillor Hicks, you've looked like you're reaching for your button, so go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Even before you get to the approval stage from all the regulatory bodies and the municipality, the IESO, which is responsible for Ontario's power grid, is the one that has to give the green light for the project. They have to win the bid, and they can't even submit the bid without the municipal support resolution. So I know there may be additional discussion, but I would like to move staff recommendation that we provide the municipal support resolution and allow this company to move on to the next stage to see if they even win the bid. That's and while we're all thinking about that, the lights are on, my computer's working, I'm hooked up to Wi-Fi, and all of that is due to Ontario's power grid. And this is to support that grid without the use of batteries. So just putting that out there, this is a clean alternative. And I know not everyone is in favor of it, but given what we've looked at in the past, it's really cool technology, and it's clean and it's efficient. And I think we should support it and see where it goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hicks. I will entertain your motion. I'll see if there's anybody else wants to weigh in first, and then. Okay, well, let's put your motion on the floor. We're still going to have the ability to speak to it. So Councillor Hicks moves, Councillor Norrie seconds it. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns? Go ahead, Councillor Shank.
Here we go. So in this staff recommendation, this is when you look at I'll just read the back portion of this. It says, in order to maintain such lands for agricultural use, preserve their continued availability for agricultural production, until otherwise approved through a subsequent planning process. Now, I'll give you a little history. And it's nothing against this company. This company has done everything that the municipality has asked for them, what I've asked for them, and what they've done. This is just straight business, and you have to understand I'm a farmer. So TransCanada came in, wanted to go ahead and build TransCanada right beside the Napanee or Lennox generating station. I had a ton of people, I was on council at the time, that were totally adamant against it because it was such close proximity. So TransCanada said it's already, as a municipality, we already know it's zoned for that, all right? So it's very limited what the municipality could do. So TransCanada said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to build this, and we're going to need a parking lot. So that agricultural land that one of the farmers was renting, we're going to clear that down the limestone, so use it as a parking area. Then when we're done building, we're going to put all that soil back, and the farmer can continue. And they stockpiled all the topsoil, so everybody felt, okay, good intent. Then they went ahead and they said, well, after they put all the soil back, they said, well, we'll put a nature preserve on it or whatever and plant some trees on it. Then all of a sudden, Atura came along and said, hey, we want to put a best site in. So that remaining agricultural land is just gone out the window, and now we have a best site. And then say, oh, no, we're not going to get any closer to your neighbors because the neighbors are really upset as it is. But now we got phase 2 going. So now you have 420 acres of prime agricultural land. One was an active dairy farm. You have the other ones to the east that have been a 4th generation farmer, all right? To the right, I don't know how long they've been there, but they have 420 acres now. So they have good intent for the latest pictures we've shown that they're going to move it to the very back, to the further south. The ground's a lot shallower there, all right? And they're going to try to keep it away from to the eastern boundary, all right? That's what they're going to do there. But what stops that 420 acres becoming, which is all prime ag land, now another industrial zone, that they're going to go. So they said you're going to put a holding symbol on it, but pending planning or process review. So they're in the ownership under Quinte Energy Storage Center. we would like to go ahead, and if it's get, as ISO goes ahead and gets success and issues them that, then they go, you know what? I think we're gonna, because we're in a business, you know, we're gonna put a best site in. All right, and now you have to understand, everybody along County Road 22, they're gonna have to deal with the truck traffic unless they come off of 21 in the back. The water, they're gonna have to come through hydro. I don't know how they'd ever pump the water up, coming up 21 and all the way down 22 for the volume of water there. But then everybody that along Hike Street, all right, now you have a close proximity of a whole bunch of residents. Now, this company here is moving it to the back, but what stops them going ahead and after getting the permit of selling it to a different company? The only reason why I'm saying this, there's so many unknowns, is that across from Sandhurst, there was a solar farm came in under the Green Renewable Energy Act. They showed us all the plans, grass cut neat. They were going to have spruce trees along the front, all down Bathurst Street, all the residents there. We've got what? 4 spruce trees. The grass was never cut. It switched hands 7 times. So everything that was promised, it was never delivered. Now you have to understand, I'm a farmer, and I've been screaming about prime egg, prime egg, prime egg. Now, how I'm in a little bit of a pickle here. You've got a good company, all right, but why in God's created earth could they not be granted the approval to go on Ontario Hydro land that's zoned for it? They have a ton of land, you know, to the back, all right, that's already zoned for it, but no, Ontario Hydro won't let them do that with like they did on the best sites. So how do I vote on something, being a farmer, getting rid of prime ag land, when I know full well out of 420 acres, and you got a 40-year contract, everybody's going to be retired because you're not going to be still working in 40 years' time, that the new owners go ahead, because we got 420 acres to play with, that I don't have another energy site on that property. Because if I owned that and I was that company, I'm sitting on 420 acres. I'm only using 70. You know what I mean? That's a poor investment on my investment there. I got to put something else on that property also that I could have generate revenue. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. That's why they're in California. So how can I protect the residents along Hike Street, along County Road 22, when there's the previous history of every other energy that has come in has changed the game, and all of a sudden they said, this is the goal. We won't go any further than that. And then, oh, by the way, in a year's time, we're moving the goalpost a little bit further. So that's what my concern is. So I know you're talking money, fine, but I'm thinking residents and prime ag land. So reluctantly, but still, I voiced my concern, voiced what the residents have told me. It was a 50-50 split, but still, I have to go with my heart, and I have to vote against it.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for your thoughts, and thanks for the history down there. I don't know, Mr. Nobes, if there's any response. I mean, the safeguards that we're intending to put into place, they're put into place for a reason, I think, right? With respect to the holding symbols and stuff. And I guess the difficult part is, and are we really comparing apples to apples? Are we comparing apples to oranges? And then as times go, and again, I wasn't on council at the time, and it's difficult for me to make a comment on there. So, but I'll allow Mr. Nobes weigh in, and then I'll see if there's any other comments from anybody else. So,
yep, thank you, Your Worship, to you and council. So the Atura example, that was a industrially designated site, industrially zoned site, and that was through a development agreement where TransCanada committed to putting the parking lot back, per se. And then Atura acquired and requested the removal of that, and here we are. So that it is a slight apples to oranges. What the proposal here is, although the lands are zoned prime ag, public uses are effectively permitted anywhere. Given the lands are zoned and designated prime ag, there is an impact on the ISO scoring. There's essentially points don't get added to the overall submission review when it's in a prime ag designation, to my understanding. So additionally, with the holding symbol, what leverage, I guess you could say, the municipality would have is that the lands are designated prime ag and zone prime ag, and that if there's a request to remove that holding symbol, there would need to be substantive proof, I'll say, provided as to why the uses should be no longer restricted to just agricultural. So the industrial Atura TransCanada example, a slight bit of orange in that apple compared to this example here. So I'd say there's more teeth through the holding symbol application than the development agreement, if that makes sense, through this proposal. Understanding the resident feedback from the survey responses, staff reached out to Hydrostor with that proposal. They're I'll say in agreement conceptually. The details, the specific details of the language and the requirements that might be applied to enable the lift of the hold would be determined through the future agreement that would say the contract is awarded and we need to enter into a site plan agreement 2-3 years down the road. That site plan agreement process is where we would be able to get very prescriptive in the holding symbol application and lifting provisions. So what specific items would the municipality want to see to validate the lift of the hold in that case? So there's more ability to, I'll say, safeguard the prime ag uses with a holding symbol here than the industrial site, if that makes sense. I hope council understands what I'm trying to say there.
Yeah, I think I do. So, and I appreciate that, Michael. Is there any other questions or comments? I've just got a brief one. If there's any other questions or comments before I ask a question. Seeing none, we received an extremely late piece of correspondence from the Cataraqui Region Conservation Authority as of yesterday afternoon, and there's a number of concerns in that piece of correspondence. I guess what's puzzling for me is that it's extremely late or it's extremely early. The concerns that were recognized in that piece of correspondence, those are all concerns that are going to be addressed at a later stage. Am I correct? And there's no requirements to address those at this point. Just so I can get it straight in my head.
Yes, Your Worship, you're absolutely correct. So this is not a Planning Act application. This is not a legislated process per se, right? Where under the Planning Act, the Conservation Authority is a mandatory agency that municipalities must circulate on all planning applications. So when and if this advances towards a site plan approval process years down the road, the CRCA would need to be circulated on that application process, and they would have full regulatory oversight through that mechanism, in addition to environmental assessment processes that are governed by the MECP. So there are multiple stages that would be yet to come if the project is awarded. So in my opinion, I think it's an early piece of correspondence. And yes, absolutely, those items would be addressed during detailed level planning and permitting and application processes, not necessarily at a municipal support resolution stage. Sometimes municipalities might request some comment, early stage comment, but it seems to me at this point it's an early piece of correspondence that, in my mind, as staff, doesn't raise any concerns that cannot be addressed through detailed processes in the future.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask a question that you won't have the answer to, and it doesn't happen very often, Michael. Do we have any understanding why this piece of correspondence came in when it did?
Quite honestly, I'm not exactly certain, but I believe what the CRCA did reach out to staff and inquired as to what is this project. I think it was from resident inquiries to the CRCA potentially. So when staff responded back to the CRCA to their request, we advised that it's a very early stage process, not a Planning Act process. It's really just seeking a municipal support resolution. And, the town had requested that the proponents go over and above on their submission requirements at this very early stage. And that, detailed regulatory agency review really isn't warranted at this step.
Okay, you did a very good job of answering the question. I didn't think you could, so thank you, Mr. Nopes. Go ahead, Mr. Grant.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I think I would add to that. And I think one of the questions you may be asking is this unusual to receive an unsolicited piece of correspondence this late in the game, sort of unsolicited prior to the Planning Act processes kicking in and this particular organization being engaged at that time? And I would answer yes, it is unusual.
Okay, thank you. I think you might have read between the lines what I was trying to say, so I appreciate that. Thank you. That's all I have for at this point, Michael. Is there anything else anyone had, or is there any conversation that come out of the questions that I had? If not, we do have a motion on the floor, and we'll call for the vote on the motion. So, all in favor of the motion that's on the floor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, folks, on a good conversation. So, moving on, growth and infrastructure services, land sale bylaw amendment, enhanced transparency, and Mr. Nopes, you're going to deal with that one as well.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'll be brief, just in the interest of time. So at the last meeting of council, I believe His Worship had requested a report back from staff on enhancing transparency of our public reporting regarding land sale discussions in closed session. So the mayor had requested that staff explore options to improve our processes around public reporting on those discussions that occur in closed session. So current operations consist of publicly reporting on accepted land sale offers that include the specific property under consideration, the list price, the purchaser, the purchase price accepted, closing dates, and conditions of sale. Staff propose amending that process to maintain public reporting around properties under discussion, but maintaining confidentiality where those negotiations are ongoing. So we would propose to amend our public reporting process to include reporting on discussions in closed session where council outright rejects an offer. So what staff would recommend is that we would report, not identify the proponent, not identify any terms proposed or financing proposed, but just simply report on the property itself and the rejected offer price that was presented in an effort to provide additional level of transparency to the public regarding these land sale discussions. So if council is in support of this direction, staff would look to get the direction from council to amend the land sale bylaw accordingly. And we're also looking for any direction from council if you would like to see retroactive reporting on offers that were received and rejected. And if so, would you like to see back to January 1st of this year or earlier or other? So it's a kind of a two-part seeking of direction from council here, but we're recommending that we would amend the land sale bylaw to publicly report on those rejected offers, just to give that greater level of transparency.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Gower.
Thank you. Through your worship, Michael, it all sounds good, but I don't think we need to go retroactive and go back on a bunch of. We just need to move forward and get a new bylaw in place and move forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver. Is there any other, it's kind of a two-pronged thing here. So yeah, go ahead, Councilor David.
Just through you, Mayor, I'm in agreement with Deputy Mayor. I don't think to go back in history and start digging all that information up is really necessary, but I like the idea moving forward to make sure that everything is out in the open on the record, and I think that's a good idea. So
great. Thanks. Thanks, Councilor Davey. Is there anything else from anyone else? I think this is part of the ongoing story we've been telling through this term of council, that we're trying to be as transparent with everything that we do as possible, especially with respect to transfer of lands that are in the ownership of the town to private parties. So I appreciate and thank you very much, Mr. Nobes. I know there's probably a little bit of extra work that goes along with this, but I don't think there's a lot of work anyway. We've already transitioned to the point where we're doing open session meeting or open session reports with respect to the land sales. So I think this is just an enhancement of what we've been doing. And again, it's at least in my humble opinion, something that's needed with respect to transparency as we continue to move forward to being as transparent as possible with our constituents. So what I'm hearing is that we do have a recommendation that, first of all, I'll see if there's anything else that comes out of the conversation I had. If there isn't, then we'll look for a recommendation that council receive for information, the growth and infrastructure land sale bylaw amendment, enhanced transparency report, and further that council provide direction. Oh, sorry, we did provide direction to proceed with preparing of an amendment to the land sale bylaw to enable public reporting of limited details related to the rejected lands purchase offers, consistent with the approach outlined in this report. And further, that council supports the proposed direction staff report back with a draft bylaw amendment and implementation framework. And further, that council receive a future report, I think we're going to go directly to moving forward. There's no sense in retroactively releasing any information, but as of today, or as of when the bylaw has been sworn, we'll move forward with the release of that information. And I apologize, Madam Clerk, I didn't wordsmith that very well, but I know that you will clean it up for me. So everybody's aware of it. So we have a mover and Councillor Hicks, seconded by Councillor Shank. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns with respect to that motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion on the floor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Now we're moving on to Growth and Infrastructure Environmental Services 2026 SCADA PAC replacements. And Andrew, you're up. So whenever you're ready.
Through your worship to council, the report before you this evening is not an ask for new money. This was approved capital budget in the 2026 budget. Staff bring this report forward for two reasons, a twofold report tonight to change what two SCADA packs we are planning on replacing this year and switching the others to an ask for capital dollars next year, and also to sole source that work and those packs from ARC integration. The change in the SCADA packs is due to some potential upcoming work at the lake station. We thought the timing was off to refurb our lake pumping station and then have to pull out a new piece of equipment and put it back afterwards. So it made more sense. There was also some increased pricing that would have been over and above the capital dollars that we allotted to that this year because of the complexity of the lake station and our raw water reservoir that need to speak to each other. So we'd have to have some temporary communications in place, which increased the price of that installation. So that's the reason for the ask to change which two SCADA packs. And the sole sourcing ask, is because we've used ARC integration in the past. They updated all our hardware and software at our ALD water treatment plant a few years ago. They were very instrumental when we had our cyber incident to ensure that our SCADA programming at the plant was secure. We used them for this project last year, and using the same SCADA integrator over time just helps with the cybersecurity and lowering the risk for your water system. And they understand our processes, the PLCs we use, and what we do with our operations. And I'm available for any questions.
Thanks, Andrew. Is there any questions? Go ahead, Deputy Recower.
No questions, Your Honor. I was just going to go with staff recommendation.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Cower, seconded by Councillor Davey. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns with respect to the staff recommendation, which is the motion that's on the floor? Go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Good report, good forward thinking. Makes total sense to me. And you're coming in under budget. Good job.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hicks. Go ahead, Councillor Shank.
I'm just wondering if I should just have a little cheat sheet here for future references, because I know I read all my agenda all the time, but SCADA, what does it stand for? And I'm going, this is just supervisory control and data acquisition. Like, I'm supposed to remember that in 3 months. Yeah, I know that. That's all I mean. There's just, it's, my gosh.
Counselor Shank, I only remember it because I asked that question last year.
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Just through you, Mayor, the only thing, Andrew, with this spares on the shelf, is that incorporated into this job to make sure the stuff's spare? Because like the stuff you're replacing should have been replaced 5 years ago, right? Like this stuff's not supported anymore. The new stuff in the Siemens that's coming. I've spoken with Dale about this a number of times, like just sole source him's a no-brainer. He's one of the best in the industry. But I just want to know the spares are there, because I've dealt with lots of places without the spares on the shelf. Makes for a very, very long night, sometimes a long week. So that's would be my only concern.
Yeah, so through your worship, we don't have any spares on the shelf. The old SCADA packs from the booster stations we pulled out last year, now we have spare parts for the lake station and the reservoir for this year to get us through to next year. With the newer SCADA packs, a lot of those parts and components are readily available, but that's something we'll look at in the future to have those in-house.
Perfect. Thanks. Thanks, Sean, and thanks, Andrew. Is there anything else? And I believe, Madam Clerk, we got a motion that's on the floor. All in favor of the motion's on the floor. Opposed, motion's carried. Executive Services Support Request. Support letter request, York Road Capital Repairs and Maintenance Funding. Madam Clerk, you're going to speak to this. So whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Through your worship, I believe this report is fairly straightforward. Council has received a request for a support letter from a neighboring, our neighbors at the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte. That's fully council's discretion whether or not you want to give support resolutions.
I'll move staff recommendation.
We have a motion on the floor from Councillor Shank, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cow for staff recommendation, which is to provide the letter of support for the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte. Is there any further conversation to be had? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion that's on the floor. Opposed, motion is carried. Executive Services Arena Lease with AM Sports. Madam Clerk, that's yours as well. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Worship. So with the new commercial leasing policy that Council adopted earlier this year, we have now found ourselves in a bit of a gray area that does not have clear policy direction. So our current tenant in operating as AM Sports within the arena is operating on a month-to-month tenancy at this point in time, because when their lease was up for renewal, they were uncertain about their future plans. They would now like to sell the business and transfer to a different numbered company. We don't have clear policy direction on what we do here, so this is solely council's discretion if you want to support that and direct staff to work on negotiating that agreement, or you also have the ability to direct us to issue a public call for proposals. Your call what you would like to do here.
Deputy Mayor Cower, go ahead.
Thank you, through your worship. So do we have a timeline as when the sale is going to take place? And that would be my first question. And I would be in support of the new owner taking over the existing lease with a bit of a rate increase on the rent. Thank you.
Through your worship, my understanding is that they were actively working on it when I received the letter last week to bring to council and want to do it as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver. Is there anything else? Councillor Shank.
No, the current lease from month to month, and if there was a new tenant, do we increase our lease because it's a new tenant, or is it a fair price that we're charging now? Like, can we get more or less? Or I mean, I know not less, but I mean, like, can we change any of the things because it's a new tenant, he wants to sell his business, but at the same time, I personally am not going to exclude somebody from selling their business, but that opens the door up on our end of charging the fair rent also. You know what I mean? Because you have a new tenant and he sold his business, but I mean, it's something we should review. Is that a fair rent? Is it not? Or, you know what I mean? Like, can we get more? You know what I mean? Just be fair. It's just business. That's all.
Madam Clerk.
Through your worship, without going out to market, it is a little bit challenging to identify that. We could, if council wanted, we could try to get an appraisal of some sort done. I'm not sure what we would find as a result of that. I can say that all of the tenants in the building have been historically subject to CPI increases. They're all slightly staggered off from each other, but fairly close on what their rents are. And this one is just slightly higher than the other tenants in the building on a per square foot per year rate. But they're all quite close to each other because they've been subject to the same CPI increases since some of them moved in the day that the arena opened and are still there.
So that, all I'm saying, I'm trying to, that's more information, but so therefore they're paying a little bit higher than all the other tenants that we have there, correct? So it's unfair for me to go ahead and increase them that much more. You know what I mean? When they're already paying the highest, they have the ideal location, but at the same time. So, okay, now you can justify it. So I have no problem if they sell the property and you go to month to month, and as long as they pay the bill, then there you go.
Yeah, and I think the intention was to sign maybe a longer term lease just to get out of the month to month, because that's what the previous owner wrote. But to get into a more secure longer term lease, is that what the plan is, Madam Clerk?
Through your worship, with council's blessing, that would be the intent, yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that, Ansel. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that was going to be my question. They're buying a business but only want month to month. So that makes more sense that they're looking for a longer term to be negotiated. Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments? If I'm seeing where we're leaning, I would suggest that council receive for information executive services arena lease with AM Sports report, and for that council direct staff to enter into a new agreement with 100158157 Ontario Limited under the town's standard terms and conditions to continue the operation of AM Sports as a business in the arena. No. Yep, we'll put the motion on the floor and then, well, go ahead, Mike, and then we'll. No, okay, I'll do it. Okay, moved by Councillor Shank, seconded by Councillor Davey. Go ahead, Mike.
No. It's not the same owner, it's just incorporating, is it? Okay.
No, it is a different person.
All I'm saying is, you know what I mean? Yeah. It was the shuffle, you know what I mean? Okay, thank you.
No, and very, very good thinking, Mike. But no, it is not, so. Is there any other questions or comments with respect to the motion that we have on the floor? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motions on the floor. Opposed, motion is carried. Executive Services Bylaw Enforcement Standards Policy Review. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. So through Your Worship, this report is brought as a first step to the service levels report that you will be receiving from my department at a future meeting. We really wanted to speak about the communication strategy because a part of the bylaw enforcement standards policy is that at certain points in the year, the requests and the capacity, the requests for enforcement from the community exceed what we have the capacity to do. We still only have 2 people plus our contracted officers. There's only so many hours in the day. I have given you a nice little chart that shows our encampment numbers from last year that just shows that really in that July, August, September, there is a real strain on our department that has not historically been there. That just means that decisions need to be made about what to prioritize. And at some points this year, we are going to need to send messaging to residents that we're triaging based on priority. We will slow down our response times. Serious safety hazard things like a dog bite or a report of dangerous activity happening will take higher priority over things that don't necessarily have, it's still technically a bylaw violation, but there's not an imminent health and safety risk. Those timelines will just need to get extended out. And we just wanted to be really transparent with council and the community before we get into this season that this is our intent. We've got some other minor amendments as well that we're recommending in the enforcement standards policy, but we wouldn't intend to finalize any of this until after we have that more robust service levels discussion at a future meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Deputy Mayor Calver, I think, has a question.
Thank you, through your worship. My hat's off to our bylaw department for what they're enduring. They don't have enough time in a week, in a month, in a year to do what they're doing. I think we're going to have to look in the 2027 budget at possibly adding, I hate to say it, 2 more bodies to bylaw, because there's so many areas in our municipality. I've received just today 3 phone calls regarding property standards. It's just an ongoing, and our bylaw guys haven't got enough time. They're tied up so much with the homelessness, and I know it's a budgetary impact for next year, and I know it's a hard ask, but if we don't do something to help them out, they will get burned out, and sooner rather than later. So that's just my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver. Go ahead, Councilor Norrie.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Through you, excellent report. I think you're hitting the nail on the head. There isn't an emergency service or enforcement agency out there that can go to every call anymore. And people do expect more for less. So the fact you're going to do the communication to let people know is excellent. I retired 17 years ago, but even back then in Hamilton, the radio room would call people to say, you won't see them till tomorrow if that's okay. The people were happy with that because they knew there would be somebody there in time. So if you keep the communication up, people will understand it because everybody knows what's going on. It's when they don't know. So I'm not sure how you're going to do that, but however you can, that would just be excellent. It does work, believe me.
Yep, thanks, Bob. Is there anything else? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jess.
Thank you. And just as a follow-up to that, I know I've been in discussion with our staff about tools we can use within our reporting system to, at least for these ones that we know we have to back burner for a while, to figure out how we can do some kind of regular update to people to say, we haven't lost your case, we do still have it, it is still waiting in the queue, because we know we don't want to just not say anything to someone for 2 months. So we're still working on the logistics of exactly how that will work, but we do appreciate that that's something that's important to council.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Jessica. Is there anything else? No, I'm going to agree with both Deputy Mayor and Councilor Norrie in the fact that I think we're going to have a real robust conversation as to the service level that we provide with respect to bylaw at the next budget process, because like I said, the world's changing quicker than we can keep up to it. And in order to provide certain service levels, and we may have to spend more money to do it, but that'll be a budget discussion in any event. So we do have a recommendation that council receive for information the Executive Services Bylaw Enforcement Standard Policy Review Report, and further that council direct that the draft provisions of the Bylaw Enforcement Standard Policy be brought back at a future meeting for the adoption after consideration of the legislative service levels, and further that council endorse the proposed communication strategy for the policy. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councilor Norrie. If there's no further comments, questions, concerns, all in favor of that motion. Opposed, motion is carried. Bylaws. We do have a bylaw number 2026-0047, bylaw to appoint a deputy town clerk. Look for a motion to put it on the floor. Moved by Councillor Shank, seconded by Councillor Davey. Ready first, second, and finally passed this 12th day of May, 2026. All in favor of that motion? Opposed, motion's carried, and welcome Christina to the fold. Information reports from members. Members provide verbal information. Is there any members who would like to provide any verbal information reports? Seeing none. Inquiries. Does anybody have any inquiries? I'll go to Deputy Mayor Calver.
Okay, thank you. This is for Mr. Brown. I'm getting a lot of inquiries about our boat dock down there in the state it's in. And I was just wondering, can we get is there something to provide an update on as to where we're at with permits and so on and so forth, and some form of a timeline of when it may be repaired?
Through your worship to Deputy Mayor Calver, yes. So we have assessed the situation. There was a pile was damaged underneath that dock, mainly from the ice this winter. We have got quotes from contractors to come in and repair that. In order to do that, we do need to get permits from Quinte Conservation and the MNR. We have applied for those permits. We paid the bill for those permits, and we're just waiting approval. As soon as we get approval to do the work, we will repair that piling that has failed. And longer term, we are looking into some pre-engineering work that would be brought to council for consideration so that we can do a drastic overhaul down there on both sides of the river to get a new dock system in place.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Is there any other inquiries? I have a brief one, Mr. Grant. Can I task you to see if you can do a little bit of follow-up on with request to 6.3.1 correspondence items on the agenda, CRCA correspondence, Hydrostor, the report. It's peculiar to me why this sort of reared its head when it reared its head. So if you could maybe make some inquiries with respect to that and just see if we can clarify it. Like I say, it's interesting whether it's really, really late coming to us or really, really early. But when something happens that's out of the norm, I always like to try and figure out what the answer is. So if you could do that for me, I would appreciate it. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think what I can ascertain is how does this fit in with the regular process and what was the intent of the letter and its timing?
Thank you, Mr. Grant. That would be it. I think you may have a career as a clerk. Is there anything else? Seeing none, notice to motions. Does anybody have any notices to motion? Seeing none, new business. Any new business from anyone? Seeing none, announcements. Does anybody want to make any announcements? Councillor Nar.
Yes, I'll be brief. For anybody that knows or cares, this is Police Week, so I just want to give a shout out to our, not only our local detachment, but all of the officers out there working. There's so much negativity online and comments made. So I'm on the services board and we have open communication. So if anybody in the public is not sure why things are happening, give us a call. We have direct lines. We can have meetings with them and just try and put some of this misinformation out as to why things happen, because they have more accountability than we do with our liquor laws. Trust me. So they have more steps on their head than you wouldn't believe. But anyways, if you see an officer, just give a four-finger wave. They'll know what that means. 4 fingers. And or just say thank you. I mean, it would go a long way. And today we had an excellent ceremony at Best and Bash. We had 2 bridges in town over the 401 named after 2 fallen officers. The bridge at Highway 41 over the 401, Mont Alexander Wood was killed in the line of duty in 1951. He was a county constable, and that bridge was in his name. In 1921, Richard Arnold Beer, a Napanee officer, was shot just in John Street there. We put a callbacks there. The mayor and myself did that, and the 100-year anniversary, but now the bridge going over Newburgh Road has it in his name. Their family members were there, the commissioner of the OPP, all the deputy commissioners, a color party, Piper. It was very formal, very impressive, and the families appreciated it. So just make note of that. We have 2 more, and hopefully not many more bridges will happen, but it is a very good ceremony, and the families really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thanks, Bob, and thanks for bringing that up. I'm going to reiterate, it was very impressive, the ceremony. We never want to see those things, but the ceremony today was a first-class ceremony conducted by the OPP, and we want to thank them for doing that. So thanks again, Bob. Is there anything else? Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor Calver, and then I'll go to Councillor Shank.
Actually, thank you, through your worship. I attended that ceremony today myself. That was the first I've ever attended one. Absolutely incredible. And for the fact that a Napanee Police Department member got named and a bridge named after him was amazing. And what was more amazing was to have some of the former Napanee Police Department members there as well. That was it was great to see Jerry Culhane, Bob Clapp, or Bob Lucas, and Dave Clapp was there, and just nice to see those guys, former Napanee Police Department guys there representing. It's really good. And of course, our mayor himself was doing a fantastic job. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Calver. Councillor Shank.
I believe today is International Nurses Day. I believe. Am I not correct? Yeah, it is. So if anybody's been in the hospital or everybody's looked after it, thank a nurse. And dear, if you're watching, there you go.
Thank you, Lorna.
I sense there may have been an ulterior motive there, Councillor Shank. But in all seriousness, you're absolutely right. It's a very important day for the nurses. So thanks for bringing that up. Is there anything else, Councillor Hicks?
Thank you, Your Worship. So normally I don't reference social media, but I have to say I got home from work today and I caved and I opened up Facebook, and I would just like to say thank you formally to Adam Pellet. So I know Deputy Mayor Calver saw his post. So Adam, thanks. I don't know if any of the other staff have seen your post, but as someone who's on council and works with staff, it's really appreciated, and everything you said was bang on. So thanks, Adam. I'll let everybody go out and search for that post now, and they can see for themselves how lovely it was. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hicks. Is Deputy Mayor Calver?
I'd also like to say I attended the Raiders banquet as well, their year-end banquet. We're losing quite a few players, veterans that are done. They're overagers now, but two very local individuals, Cole Campbell and of course our captain, Reed Lambert. Watching these guys play for the last 5 years have been just absolutely amazing. And I know Reed carried quite a following at the arena, so I just wanted to congratulate both of them on a job well done over the last 5 years playing for the Raiders, and good luck with the rest of your life. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Calvert. Is there anything else? If not, we will move on to CEO's remarks. Mr. Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a brief comment. So I thought I would be remiss if I didn't send recognition and thank you out to both the OPP, PELUS, and our social service providers who have been instrumental in assisting us with the work we're doing on 1388 Bridge Street in Junction. There's been a tremendous amount of efforts on behalf of our partners and leadership that they've demonstrated in working to ensure the individuals living on that property can find alternative accommodations or solutions for them, so that when we have to go in and address the items outlined in the injunction, that the most vulnerable on that site have been looked after, and for that I'm grateful.
Thank you, Mr. Grant, for those words. Moving on to the forward calendar, I know we've all had an opportunity to look at it. Is there anything in the forward calendar anyone had any questions or comments about? Moves us to look for a motion to confirm the proceedings, the bylaw of the town of Greater Napanee. Moved by Councillor Davey, second by Councillor Shank. Read it first, second, and finally passed this 12th day of May 2026. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. And motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Hicks, second by Councillor Shank. There's no further comments, questions, concerns. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thanks, folks, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. We covered a lot of ground this evening.